Chapter 771. Charlotte knew very well that he couldn't deal with the FA organization alone. Although the FA organization couldn't be compared with the CIA in terms of strength, it was no different from an intelligence agent organization in a small or medium-sized country. He didn't know how many agents the FA organization had, nor did he know where the headquarters of the FA organization was. To deal with such an almost invisible but very powerful opponent, he needed help. And this help was the Knights Hospitaller. The Knights Hospitaller had a history of nearly 1,000 years. During the medieval period of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, it had its own army and created its own kingdom. Although its glory had been submerged in the long river of history, it was still able to stand for nearly 1,000 years. If it didn't have strength, how could it have done this? The era of knights had passed, but the world had never lacked fanatical religious believers, and these fanatical religious believers were the cornerstone of the Knights Hospitaller. The power of faith was terrible, and the Knights Hospitaller had mastered this power. Therefore, in his opinion, the strength of the Knights Hospitaller should be on par with the strength of the FA organization, or even stronger. In Italy, in France, he had killed the people of the Knights Hospitaller, and the relationship between him and the Knights Hospitaller was hostile. But in this world, there were no eternal enemies, no eternal friends, only eternal interests. In his hand was the holy relic of the Knights Hospitaller, and the Knights Hospitaller would get it at any cost. Therefore, as long as he took advantage of this, he could achieve his goal at the lowest cost. To kill Amasa, or even the FA organization. This was his plan. But before executing this plan, he needed to figure out what the silver metal was. Just as he was sorting out his thoughts, Eugene Lee returned. In his hand, in addition to the silver metal, there was also a small box used to store rock specimens. President Xia, this metal is really strange. It is very light and not very dense, but its specific strength is almost 10 times that of high-strength titanium alloy. Eugene Lee looked very excited. Charlotte was also shocked by him. Are you sure? Eugene Lee nodded. Yes, President Xia. Before cutting it, I did some physical tests on it. Its specific strength is at least 10 times that of high-strength titanium alloy. It was very difficult for me to cut it with a laser cutter, and I suspect that this metal can even withstand lightspeed flight. Charlotte was shocked. High-strength titanium alloy was an indispensable material for making the compressor parts of aircraft engines, rockets, missiles, and high-speed aircraft. China's titanium alloy was far behind that of developed countries in Europe and the United States, which was one of the reasons why they had not been able to make good fighter engines and advanced fighters. If this metal could be produced and applied to the aviation field, then the European and American material advantage would be gone, and they would fall far behind China. Chairman Xia, you didn't get this piece of metal from some alien spaceship, did you? Li Yudun looked at Xia Lei, his eyes full of suspicion. Xia Lei frowned. An alien spaceship? Go and find one for me. Of course, he wouldn't tell Eugene Lee where he got this silver metal, and he didn't believe in alien spaceships. I'm sorry, President Xia. I didn't mean it that way. I was just saying. Eugene Lee handed the silver metal and the box to Charlotte. I've cut a small piece of this metal according to your instructions. Take a look. Charlotte opened the box and saw a piece of silver metal several times smaller than a grain of rice. Then he looked at the big piece of silver metal. To his surprise, he couldn't see that it had been cut. What's going on? Charlotte asked. Did you deal with the cut marks? No, absolutely not. In fact, I also feel strange. Eugene Lee said. No matter what material it was, after it was cut, there would be cut marks. However, this piece of silver metal didn't leave any marks. It gave people the feeling that it had repaired itself. Take the cut part and analyze it. Charlotte handed the box back to Eugene Lee. Okay, President Xia. I'll go right away. Eugene Lee couldn't wait to do the experiment. Charlotte suddenly said, Wait, I'll go with you. He was gone for more than 30 hours. When he left the material laboratory, it was already the evening of the next day. In the past 30 hours, he and Eugene Lee had done almost all the experiments and analyses they could. The results surprised him. The main component of this silver metal was carbon. Carbon was everywhere in the world. In its natural form, diamond, graphite, and coal, there were countless carbon compounds, such as perfume, rubber, plastic, gasoline, explosives, and so on. Even in our own bodies, there is the presence of carbon. Carbon could form life. It could form soft graphite. It could also form bright and hard diamonds. The different forms were just different arrangements of carbon atoms. Now, it had appeared in the mysterious silver metal, and it was a non-metallic element in itself. It was incomprehensible, but it really existed. In addition to carbon, there were 2 other elements, but they were unknown. It was impossible to find out what they were. However, a conclusion had been drawn. This silver metal was a carbon alloy. In the modern industrial field, carbon alloy was the most widely used metal. It was very common. But it was certain that even the European and American countries with the most advanced smelting technology could not produce carbon alloy comparable to the silver metal. The atomic structure in this piece of silver metal was very peculiar. Even a highly knowledgeable material scientist like Li Yuden had never seen or heard of such a thing before. But it was still a very great harvest. Mastering the atomic arrangement of the carbon element in this metal would be a great benefit to Rema Group's new material industry. It could even be a boost. Although there was no way to process it, it was certain that if Rema Group developed a new high-tech material in the future, it would be inseparable from this incident. Dusk fell. Charlotte looked at the sky and said to himself, "Mr. Da Vinci, I did it. I almost solved its secret. But I know it was not because you were not smart enough. It was because your era did not have the conditions to do analysis and experiment. If you were given the same equipment and conditions, you might be able to do better than me." In the west, there was a white cloud dyed with gold. It looked like a smiling face. Maybe it was Da Vinci who heard the news. "Mr. Da Vinci, I will solve all the secrets." Charlotte retracted his gaze and walked back to the villa. He wanted to go to the underground laboratory to do an experiment that only he could do. Entering the underground laboratory, Charlotte opened the safe and took out the ancient alloy box that was missing a corner. He had a hunch that there must be some connection between the silver metal and the ancient alloy. This hunch was not an unfounded hunch, but it had a basis. His basis was Zhu Xianyue. Zhu Xianyue was an inhuman existence. She could enter the world of the ancient alloy, so this silver metal might have been brought out from the ancient alloy world. Could it be like this? Charlotte opened the box that contained the silver metal, and then used a pair of tweezers to pick it up and carefully extended it into the gap of the ancient alloy box. This was the experiment he wanted to do. He had done this kind of experiment with many things before. Gel pens, metal tubes, and so on. But this was the first time he put the silver metal in. When the energy field vibrated, he let go of the tweezers. The silver metal was immediately sucked in and disappeared into the dark space inside the box. Then, everything went still. The history of this silver metal cannot be verified, but it must be very old. Anything that enters the world of the ancient alloy box seems to have experienced 1,000 years of time, eroded beyond recognition. I wonder what will happen to the silver metal? While waiting for the results, Charlotte couldn't help but speculate. The void above the ancient alloy box suddenly trembled slightly. The small silver metal leaped out of the void. It was as good as new, without any signs of weathering. The energy field disappeared, and the small piece of silver metal fell from the void. Because it was too small and too light, it didn't even make any sound. How is this possible? Every material has a decay period. Even stainless steel that doesn't rust can't maintain its original appearance after thousands of years. Charlotte was shocked and confused. He tried it 2 more times, and the structure was the same each time. The silver metal didn't change at all. Finally, he boldly put the large piece of silver metal into the world inside the ancient alloy box. The result was still the same, and this time, he used his left eye to record all of the fine characteristics of the silver metal before putting it in, but after coming out, those fine characteristics didn't change at all. After thinking quietly for a few minutes, Charlotte found a paper knife, cut his finger, and dripped the blood on the large piece of silver metal. Then, he threw the blood-stained silver metal into the world of the ancient alloy box. After a short wait, the void trembled, and the large piece of silver metal jumped out of the void. Charlotte was dumbstruck when he saw it. On the silver metal, the blood on the flat surface was already gone, but there was still blood left in its corners. Moreover, it didn't dry, as if it had just been dripped. Bang! The large piece of silver metal smashed onto the metal platform. Charlotte grabbed it with a trembling hand. A trace of blood flowed out from a dent in the silver metal, flowing onto his finger. That blood was still warm. It's not an angel's sword, not an alien spaceship, it's a protective suit. Charlotte suddenly came to this conclusion. Then, he didn't move for at least half an hour. Chapter 772. Song Baiching's death was indeed left unsolved. The cause of death given by the police was cerebral hemorrhage. The possibility of homicide and suicide were ruled out, so it was an accident. This result was within Charlotte's expectations. He had also learned some information about Song Baiching's woman from Fanfan. The woman's surname was Liu, and her name was Liu Hui. She had served in a special force before being transferred to the government as a bodyguard. The person she protected was Ling Hao. Later, Song Baiching fell in love with her, and the two became husband and wife. In Charlotte's view, Liu Hui had something to do with Song Baiching's death. Of course, Ling Hao wouldn't do it himself. The wisest thing to do was to send one of his men. That man was Liu Hui. Song Baiching couldn't guard against his woman. That was why there were no traces at the scene, and why Song Baiching died peacefully. Even if he died, the green hat on his head would continue to be worn. According to the information provided by Fanfan, Charlotte knew who the murderer was and who the instigator was, but this was the end of the matter. Along with this matter, the research on the silver metal was also suspended. The blood on the silver metal provided a possibility for him to enter the world inside the ancient alloy box, but it was only a small piece of silver metal, not a full set of protective clothing. Even if he was given the courage of the heavens, he didn't dare to rashly enter. If there was such a protective clothing, where was the rest of it? This was something he desperately wanted to find out. Although the research on the silver metal was temporarily suspended, Rema Group's new material research project was launched. Charlotte also injected 100 million yuan into the project, and the person in charge of the project was Eugene Lee. 2 days later, "Boss, a man who claims to be a South American businessman wants to see you." Yelena walked into Charlotte's office. She called him Chairman Xia if there was someone else, and called him boss if there was no one else. Charlotte, who was researching artificial intelligence technology, raised his head. "A South American businessman? Didn't he say who he is?" I asked, but he didn't say. "Where is he?" "I've arranged for him and his entourage to be in the reception room. Do you want to see him?" "Okay, I'll go take a look." Charlotte got up and left the office. Then, he went to the reception room. When he arrived at the door of the reception room, he was stunned by the scene in the reception room. A brown-haired fat man was sitting on a sofa in the reception room. He was very young, not more than 30 years old. He had a baby face and a lot of freckles on his face, which made him look very funny. Behind the brown-haired fatty stood 4 women. The 4 women were all blonde, tall, long-legged, and sexy Caucasian women. Issei was about 1.85 meters tall, as if he had been measured with a ruler and then trimmed off the excess parts. She was wearing a black, tight-fitting leather suit, and her curves were almost the same. But this was not the most exaggerated part. The most exaggerated part was that the two on the left of the fat man were twins, and the two on the right of the fat man were also twins. When these four blonde beauties stood together, it gave people the illusion that they were two women who were similar to each other, using the doppelganger technique that great sage Sun had used. Charlotte couldn't help but look at the comical brown-haired fatty and the sexy 2x2 twins. "Mr. Xia, are you looking at me or the woman behind me?" the brown-haired fatty said lightly with a smile on his mouth. He spoke in English. His hair color was a typical Nordic hair color, and the language he used was not a South American language. From these 2 points, Charlotte could tell that he was not a South American businessman. Charlotte walked in and sat opposite the brown-haired fatty. "Do you know me?" the brown-haired fatty said. "The European and American media described you as China's Frankenstein." That tone was sour. "I've read a lot of such reports. Do you think I know you? Haven't you paid attention to those media reports?" "No, I'm not interested in the media," Charlotte said. "Since you know who I am, I'm too lazy to introduce myself. May I ask who you are?" "I'm a businessman. I want to buy your weapons. I only sell weapons here. You can't buy anything else even if you want to." As he spoke, Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly. His gaze instantly pierced through the fat man's clothes. He soon saw a cross-shaped tattoo composed of 4 arrows on the fat man's right chest. It was the emblem of the Knights Hospitaller. Every member of the Knights Hospitaller had it. His gaze casually moved to the 4 women behind the fat man. His left eye slowly swept over the 4 women's chests. In addition to the white things, he also found the same Knights Hospitaller tattoo emblem on the 4 women's chests. Sure enough, the Knights Hospitaller had come. Yelena walked in from the door. She brought a cup of tea for Charlotte. Just as Yelena was about to stay, Charlotte said to her, "Go do what you need to do." Yelena nodded and turned to leave. "Tell me, who are you?" Charlotte repeated his question. The brown-haired fat man was silent for a moment before he said, "You have a good eye. Well, my name is Arthur. I'm a member of the Knights Hospitaller." "Why isn't Mr. Walton here?" Charlotte asked. "I can do it." Arthur looked straight at Charlotte. "We don't have to waste time. Take me to see our holy relic." "You'll see it, but not now." Charlotte's gaze moved to the 4 blonde women behind Arthur. "Are the women behind you reliable?" "They're absolutely fine," Charlotte said. "Let them go out for a while. I don't want them to hear our conversation." Arthur suddenly laughed. "Mr. Xia, are you sure you want them to leave?" "What do you mean?" "We know you like beautiful women. His Excellency the Archbishop specially asked me to bring them here. They were saintesses who were spotless. Their bodies and souls were pure and untainted. You can have them as long as you—" Charlotte interrupted Arthur. "Don't say any more. I'm not interested." 4 blonde beauties, and they were twin holy virgins. He believed that 70% of the men in the world would be tempted. But Charlotte was not tempted at all. What he wanted was the armed forces of the Knights Hospitaller, not the women of the Knights Hospitaller. The Knights Hospitaller wanted to exchange women for their holy relic. It was a dream. Arthur gently waved his hand. The 4 blonde women walked out from behind the sofa and slowly walked towards Charlotte. 4 pairs of long legs wrapped tightly in leather pants moved, and their perky buttocks trembled slightly. The curves that should be there were revealed without any concealment. Even the indentations that should not be there were vaguely revealed. It was extremely tempting. As they walked, their waists gently twisted, soft and boneless. Their full breasts also trembled slightly with their footstep. That rhythm had a kind of enchanting power. The 2 pairs of twins stopped in front of Charlotte and slowly turned around. Then they slowly bent their A4 paper thin waists and continued to show Charlotte their powerful buttocks. As they moved, their buttocks slowly rose in the direction of Charlotte, and the curves of their buttocks became more plump and perky. As the PU material shrank, that place was also more clearly revealed. It was extremely seductive. However, even though they were doing such things to seduce men, there was not the slightest bit of indecent and pretentious aura on them. Instead, there was a kind of sacred aura that had been cultivated by the influence of religion. If you want, I can let them take off their clothes. I promise you that they are all the most beautiful women in this world. They can let you experience the feeling of being a king. Arthur continued to persuade. Enough. There was a hint of anger in Charlotte's voice. The four women glanced at Arthur. Arthur waved his hand, and the four women returned to behind the sofa behind him. From beginning to end, there was not the slightest expression on their faces. Arthur said, "Then name your price. But I have to remind you that we are not a bank. Our money is all donated by the believers, so please name a reasonable price." "I don't want women, and I don't want your money." "Then what do you want?" "Before I mention it, I want to ask you a question," Charlotte said. "I want you to help me capture a person and investigate the headquarters of an organization." Arthur immediately frowned. "Who do you want us to help you capture? Investigate the headquarters of what organization?" Charlotte said, "The FA organization." "The person I want you to help me capture is also from the FA organization. Her name is Yamosa. I have prepared her detailed information." "Wait!" Arthur interrupted Charlotte. "We are a religious organization, not a mercenary army." "I think you are mistaken. A religious organization?" Charlotte sneered. "Not all of them. In Italy, your people set up an ambush to kill me. I escaped to France, and your people also chased me to France. You can do this kind of thing, but can't you meet my conditions?" "No," Arthur refused flatly. "Absolutely not." "No? What else can I talk to you about?" Charlotte said. "You can go." Charlotte stood up. "You have no choice. If you want to get your holy relic back, you have to meet my conditions. Go back and think about it. Come to me when you have made up your mind." "Wait." Arthur also stood up. Charlotte looked back at Arthur. "I know the existence of the FA organization." Arthur's eyes were sharp. "Tell me, why do you want us to do this for you? Your request will bring great danger to us." "When you agree, I will tell you," Arthur said. "I can't make such a big decision. I have to ask His Excellency Walton. I guess he also needs to hold a meeting before he can tell you our decision." Charlotte said, "No problem. I am not in a hurry. You can come to me after you have discussed it." "We didn't book a hotel. Can we stay in your house?" Charlotte said, "Of course, no problem. I have a lot of rooms in my house. I will arrange them for you." "Thank you," Arthur said. Charlotte took out his cell phone and dialed a number. As he walked out, he said, "Qin Xiang, help me take a few guests to Peace House. Well, take good care of them. They are all important guests." Qin Xiang's voice came from the cell phone. It was very low. "What time is it? You want me to install a bug, right?" A smile appeared at the corner of Charlotte's mouth. "Let's do that." Chapter 773. Arthur and the two pairs of twins stayed in Ping An House. According to Arthur's request, Qin Xiang arranged 3 rooms for Arthur and the 4 women, 1 for Arthur and 1 for each of the twins. After arranging the rooms, Qin Xiang returned to Charlotte's office and put a laptop on Charlotte's desk. "Done?" Charlotte asked. Qin Xiang pulled up the laptop monitor and tapped on the Enter key. 3 images suddenly appeared on the monitor, which were the images of the 3 rooms. Qin Xiang installed the surveillance camera in the exhaust port, and the 3 surveillance images were from a condescending perspective, which could monitor 90% of the space in the room. In the 3 rooms, Arthur and the 2 pairs of twins were handling their luggage. There was no phone call and no one was talking. The scene was like a deaf-mute's daily life. "Lazy, I heard that you and Liang Xiao kissed in the factory, is that true?" Qin Xiang smiled. "Who said that?" Charlotte looked surprised. "Workers, you dared to do it, but are you afraid of people talking about it?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. Since you believe the gossip of those workers, why are you still asking me? How does it feel to rekindle an old love? Did you two sleep together? Charlotte was speechless. Qin Xiang looked more feminine than a woman, and her personality was also a typical woman. Qin Xiang frowned. You don't want to talk to me? Hand over your head. Are you bored out of your mind? How about I arrange some work for you? Charlotte threatened. Qin Xiang didn't buy it. Your father went to the Tang family in Sichuan, maybe he finalized the marriage between you and Tang Yan. At this critical moment you're entangled with Liang Xiao. Say, if Shintu Tianyi knows about your situation, will she do something? Xia Lei's head started to hurt. All right, I won't make things difficult for you. Your life is already chaotic enough. If I were you, I'd announce that I'm out of the closet and let them back off. Why don't you go die? Charlotte cursed. Qin Xiang ran away with a smile. The way she twisted her waist was extremely coquettish. Charlotte's gaze returned to the laptop monitor. The four women had already packed their luggage and entered Arthur's room. A woman at the back closed the door. The five of them knelt on the carpet and began to pray. The voices of 5 people praying could be heard from the laptop's speaker system. God, we beg you, with your holy grace, guide our work smoothly. May our prayers and deeds begin with the love of God and end with the glory of Him. In Christ our Lord we ask this. Amen. This is the Catholic prayer before going to work. After the prayer, Arthur said, Rosa, Teresa, have you checked your rooms? The twins shook their heads. Giovanna, Stella, have you checked your rooms? Arthur asked again. Arthur frowned. Sisters from the Russo family and Gray family, I've already warned you before coming. Why are you still so careless? Our opponents are very powerful and cunning. We have to be very careful. Go and check every nook and cranny of your room at once. The 4 women followed and left. After returning to their rooms, they began to search every corner of the room. They didn't let go of the bedside table, the wardrobe, the sofa, or even the bathroom. Arthur also searched his room. A few minutes later, Arthur found the miniature camera installed in the exhaust. He held the camera in front of him with an angry expression. What do you want? Cheating and peeping are sins. You will be punished by the Lord. This was clearly directed at Charlotte. Charlotte shook his head with a bitter smile. He had underestimated this freckled fatty. He could also see that the 4 women were relatively innocent and didn't have any schemes. This Arthur, on the other hand, had rich experience in counter-espionage and was very difficult to deal with. Very soon, the Russo sisters, Rosa and Teresa, also found a miniature camera in the exhaust on the ceiling. The twin sisters glared fiercely at the camera, looking as fierce as little tigers. The Gray sisters, Giovanna and Stella, said to Charlotte at the same time. Despicable person, may the Lord save your soul. Charlotte closed the laptop monitor and left the office. He ran out of the office building. He didn't go through the main door, but instead ran toward the wall on one side of the office building. Hello, Chairman Xia. A gardener who was trimming the flowers in the green belt greeted Charlotte. Continue working. Charlotte took a big stride forward and kicked the wall with his right foot, then his left foot again. After 2 kicks, his body was at the same height as the 3-meter-tall wall. Then, with a light push of his hands, his body jumped over the wall and disappeared over it. The gardener stared blankly at the 2 footprints on the wall and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. In a room of peace residence, Arthur placed the miniature camera that the Russo sisters and the Gray sisters found on the ground and then crushed it with his foot. How could that guy do this? Giovanna looked very angry. I didn't expect his soul to be so dirty. Stella said. Luckily he refused. Otherwise, I would rather die than be with a man like this. Rosa said. If I can get the holy relic back, I am willing to give up everything. But God has already made arrangements. The merciful God doesn't want us to serve that despicable man. So, he was the one who made that man refuse. Teresa said. While the 4 women were talking, Arthur took out his cell phone and dialed a number. 30 seconds later, Arthur began to speak. Dear Mr. Angelio, I have met with Charlotte. He made a very harsh condition. Well, his condition is that we help him catch a woman named Yamosa. That woman is from the FA organization. In addition, he also asked us to find the headquarters of the FA organization for him. The Russo sisters and the Gray sisters kept quiet. They looked at Arthur. When Arthur mentioned Angelio, their eyes were full of reverence. This scene didn't escape Charlotte's eyes. While the Russos and the Gray sisters were watching Arthur, he was watching them and Arthur from a room behind the one they were in. Letting Qin Xiang install the surveillance camera was actually just the first step of his plan. The 5 people from the Knights Hospitaller stayed in his place, and would definitely check the room. If Arthur and the 4 women didn't find anything, Arthur and the 4 women would always be vigilant. But if they found something, their vigilance would be reduced because of the elimination of hidden dangers. So, he asked Qin Xiang to install the camera for this opportunity. As for him, his left eye was the best surveillance camera in the world. Arthur's words also aroused Charlotte's curiosity. He secretly said in his heart, he didn't call the Walton, but a man named Angelio. Is the Walton just a leader on the surface, and the real leader is Angelio? Arthur mouthed, I haven't seen our holy relic yet, and he also refused our proposal. The Russo sisters and the Gray sisters are our most beautiful girls, but they didn't win his favor. He also doesn't want money. He has tens of billions of yuan in China, and Rema Group is very profitable. I don't think we can solve the problem with money this time. He doesn't want women or money. Should we agree to his request? Well, yes. We have no conflict with the FA organization. Once we catch their people and provide their secret information to Charlotte, it means that we have to go to war with the FA organization, which is very unfavorable for us. Well, I'll wait for the results of the meeting. I will also ask the Russo sisters and the Gray sisters to fight for it. May God bless us, amen. The call ended here. Arthur put away his phone and faced the Russo sisters and the Gray sisters. He was silent for a moment before he said, What I'm going to say now will be a little difficult for you, but as long as you have a firm faith, you will succeed. The Russo sisters and the Gray sisters said in unison, Guard the faith, help the suffering. This was the slogan of the Knights Hospitaller since the Middle Ages. Arthur said, Charlotte's conditions are too harsh. We can't afford the consequences of going to war with the FA organization. Although we are not afraid of fighting, if we can get back the holy relic at the lowest cost, it is in the interest of our Knights Hospitaller. It is a man's talent to fight on the battlefield. It is a woman's talent to get information from the pillow and conquer the enemy. That man is despicable, and his soul is dirty. It's very unfair for you to be with him, but we are the warriors of my Lord, and we must have the spirit of sacrifice. Your body will be defiled, but your soul will be purified. The Lord will bless you and guide your way. Amen. The Russo sisters and the Gray sisters crossed themselves on their towering chests. May God bless us, amen. Tonight, I guess Charlotte will invite us to dinner. At that time, I will light the Requiem candle, which can affect people's minds. That is your chance. You bring him into your room, and then you know what to do. The Russo sisters and the Gray sisters nodded in unison. Arthur said, But don't let him take advantage of you for nothing. You have to ask where our holy relic is hidden. Then 2 of you will hold him back, and the other 2 will steal the holy relic. What if he hides the holy relic far away? Giovanna asked. Arthur said, Then send me the news in time. I will go in person. The Russo sisters and the Gray sisters said in unison, Guard the faith, help the suffering. Arthur said, May God bless us, amen. In another room, Charlotte finished peeping. He rubbed his sore left eye, but he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Fighting with these devout believers, secretly watching them discuss how to deal with him, That feeling was really indescribable. Charlotte looked out of the window and glanced at the sky. It was still early before night fell, but he had to start preparing for tonight's battle. Chapter 774. That night came unexpectedly. A banquet with Chinese and Western characteristics began in the Orchid Hall of the Peace Bureau. Italian pizza and steak, French red wine and foie gras, China's roast duck and mutton hot pot. These were just some of the many delicacies. Arthur lit 2 candles on the table. They were white, with the emblem of the Knights Hospitaller at the bottom. The candlelight flickered gently, emitting light and creating a bit of smoke. The smell was like the smell of tequila, which made people feel good. Charlotte sat at the head of the table, and Arthur sat in the guest seat opposite him. The Grey sisters sat on his left, and the Russo sisters sat on his right. On the left were 2 identical blonde beauties, and on the right were 2 identical blonde beauties. This scene would dazzle anyone who saw it. The Grey sisters, Giovanna and Stella, had changed out of their skin-tight leather clothes and were wearing long medieval dresses, the kind with a rope belt and a narrow chest. Although the clothes were old-fashioned, they didn't look old-fashioned at all on them. Instead, they had a classic beauty and classic sexiness. Looking at them, you would think that they had time-traveled from the Middle Ages to date you and then do something shameful in a haystack. The Russo sisters, Rosa and Teresa, had a different style. The Russo sisters were all wearing white evening gowns. They were also bare-chested and low-cut. There was very little fabric, and there was a lot of spring in them. Although he knew what the 5 Knights Hospitaller wanted to do, Charlotte, who was dressed in leather shoes, maintained his smile and elegance, like an old British aristocrat. "I hope you like the dinner I prepared for you. Let's drink to our acquaintance." Charlotte smiled and raised his glass. "I have a feeling that no matter what the outcome of our deal is, we will become very good friends." The 5 Knights Hospitaller just nodded slightly, then clasped their hands and began to pray before the meal. "Thank God for giving us food to nourish our bodies. Forgive us our sins, show us the way. Amen." Charlotte was embarrassed. He took a sip himself. This was Lafite from France. It was expensive. It would be a waste not to drink it. After the prayer, Arthur said, "Mr. Xia, thank you for your hospitality. If you can make some more concessions, so much the better. I believe Almighty God will reward you." Charlotte smiled. "Each of us has our own purpose. We eat to fill our stomachs, we work to make money to support our families, and we believe for the salvation and liberation of our souls. I do this for— Haha, let's talk about something else. Let's not talk about business during dinner. Mr. Xia, may I ask if you have any faith?" Giovanna looked at Charlotte and asked. The other 3 women also looked at Charlotte. They seemed to be very interested in Charlotte's faith and wanted to know the answer. "We all have our own beliefs. Some believe in money, some believe in power, and some believe in various gods. You asked me what my belief is. Well, I believe in nature." Charlotte said. "Believe in nature?" Giovanna thought for a moment and said, "You're not a Native American, but you have the same belief as the Native Americans. That's a very strange thing." The other 3 women couldn't help but show a look of disdain. In this world, white people discriminated against black people, rich people discriminated against poor people, and people with faith discriminated against people without faith. In their eyes, Charlotte was a man without faith. His soul had long fallen, and he had already booked a room in hell. Charlotte didn't mind the 4 women's opinions and reactions at all. He said lightly, "Nature gave birth to us and raised us. The power of nature is mysterious and powerful. We should revere nature. I know you think I'm a man without faith, but this is my faith. I believe in nature. I don't think there's a need for one faith to reject another. You've been fighting with the Islamic world for thousands of years for your God, and no one has convinced the other, right?" "Ha ha ha!" Arthur smiled and raised his glass. "It seems that Mr. Xia knows our history very well. But let's not talk about the problem of faith. Let's have a toast. Cheers. Charlotte raised his glass and drank the wine. Mr. Xia, I'm really curious why you want us to deal with the FA organization. Can you tell me why? Arthur asked. He looked into Charlotte's eyes. His eyes seemed to be able to see through Charlotte's soul. Charlotte said, Mr. Arthur, you asked me a question, so I'll ask you a question. If you answer me, then I'll answer you. What's the question? I brought out a piece of metal from the labyrinth, a silver metal. It's more than the best aviation material I've ever seen. I think its value should also be reflected in the aviation industry. But you say that it's your holy object. Why is that? Is there a story behind it? Mr. Xia, your question puts me in a difficult position. Mr. Arthur, your question also puts me in a difficult position. Giovanna stood up and took the decanter to refill Charlotte's wine. She approached Charlotte's ear and said in a low and gentle voice, Mr. Xia, if you want to know the answer, I can tell you, but not now, not here. Charlotte just glanced at her and didn't say anything. Giovanna refilled Charlotte's glass with more than half a glass of wine. When she left, she touched Charlotte's shoulder with her chest. This soft and silent collision made Xia Lei slightly dazed for a moment. Mr. Xia, are you sure you don't want to keep them? Arthur said, from a man's point of view, your decision is not wise at all. Charlotte said, I've made it very clear that I won't trade that silver metal for your women. You can only get your holy object back if you meet my conditions. You're really a stubborn man. Well, when the meeting is over, I'll tell you our decision. Now let's enjoy our dinner, or it will be wasted. Arthur said as he raised his glass and drank. The dinner went on in silence. Charlotte didn't ask any more questions. The women of the Russo family and the Gray family would sometimes look at Charlotte out of the corner of their eyes, and they would also make eye contact with each other. Charlotte knew what they were talking about, but he pretended not to know. The candlelight flickered, and the candle smoke curled up. The large orchid hall, which was specially used to entertain guests, was filled with the aroma of tequila, which was not normal. Slowly, Charlotte had an abnormal reaction. He looked very hot, and his spirit couldn't be hit, giving people a feeling of trance. He unbuttoned his shirt, but this didn't solve the problem. Soon his forehead began to sweat. Then it was his eyes. His eyes began to slacken. Mr. Xia, why do you want us to help you deal with the FA organization? Arthur had been observing Charlotte's reaction, and when Charlotte gently shook his head, he raised this question again. I'm so sleepy, Charlotte said as he continued to shake his head gently. Arthur gave Giovanna a look. Giovanna then got up and came to Charlotte's side. She sat on Charlotte's lap and put her arms around Charlotte's neck. Honey, why do you want to deal with the FA organization? Xia Lei appeared to be in a daze. Arthur gave him another look. The remaining 3 women also got up and came to Charlotte's side. These 3 women, Teresa hugged Charlotte's left arm, and Stella hugged Charlotte's right arm. Charlotte's arms were like the branches of a coconut tree, and there were 2 big coconuts on each branch. There was no wind here, but the coconuts were shaking. Rosa went behind Charlotte and gently pressed her plump upper body on Charlotte's shoulder. Then 2 big coconuts grew on Charlotte's neck, and they shook even more violently even though there was no wind. This place was like a battlefield full of peach trees and blooming peach blossoms. Arthur was the local general, and the sisters of the Russo and Gray families were the enemy knights charging into the enemy lines. In fact, Charlotte's body had already activated its abnormal immunity ability. He had already woken up, but he had to pretend to be hit and cooperate with the women of the Russo and Gray families. I got a very, what is it? Rosa said in Charlotte's ear, her voice sweet and pleasant. There is a very valuable piece of information. What information? Giovanna twisted her waist and pressed her hips on Charlotte's thighs, adding stimulation and confusion to Charlotte. Charlotte remained in a daze. This metal is something that God left in this world, but it is not the only one. In the headquarters of the FA organization, there is a sword made of God's metal. It is the sword of angels. As soon as he said this, the 5 people from the hospital knights were stunned. And the people of the FA organization killed my people, and they want to kill me to silence me. I want to destroy the FA organization, and I want that sword of angels. Charlotte finished his secret. The sisters of the Russo and Gray families looked at Arthur at the same time, waiting for his instructions. What Xiaolei had just said had shocked them to the core. The 4 women were not the only ones who were shocked. Arthur's eyes sparkled with excitement. Take him back to the room. You know what to do. This information is too important. I will contact Mr. Angilio immediately. The 4 women then helped Charlotte up and left the Orchid Hall. Charlotte muttered as he walked, I'm not drunk. I can still drink, drink. Let's go back to the room and drink. Giovanna giggled. Teresa grabbed Xiaolei's butt. You bastard, you're going to hell. At the dining table, Arthur made a call. Mr. Angilio, I just got a very important piece of information. The FA organization. A smile appeared on Charlotte's face. Desire had always been a devil. The Knights Hospitaller had been longing for that piece of silver metal for hundreds of years. Just one piece was enough to drive them crazy. If there was an angel's sword made of God's metal, would they not be tempted? Chapter 775. The room was the Grey sisters' room. Charlotte was helped in by the 4 women and then thrown onto the bed. The Russo sisters quickly took off his clothes, and in the blink of an eye, he was only left with his underwear. Fortunately, they kept it for him. The Grey sisters lit 2 white requiem candles, the same one that Arthur had lit on the dining table. The bottom of the candles also had the emblem of the Knights Hospitaller. They're really willing to spend money. One of these candles that can make people delirious is enough, but they actually lit 2. Are they trying to get it over with quickly? Charlotte thought to himself. Hello? Rosa reached out and patted Charlotte's face. She said tentatively, Darling, wake up. Charlotte opened his eyes and mumbled, Tianine, is that you? You're so beautiful. I miss you so much. Tianine? Rosa was slightly stunned for a moment before she suddenly thought of something. According to the information provided by the Grand Cross, he had a wife named Shintu Tianine, but they're divorced. What a mouthful, Stella said. Stella said, however, he mistook you for his ex-wife, which means that he is delirious. The women did not know that Charlotte had said that on purpose. Teresa stretched out a hand in front of Charlotte and then stretched out 2 fingers. Baby, look at how many fingers this is. Charlotte opened his eyes again. 5, hee, Teresa giggled. In his condition, do we still need to do that with him? Giovanna said, the Grand Cross's orders are very clear. We need to carry out his orders. Yes, protect faith and help suffering, Stella said. We need to carry out the Grand Cross's orders and avoid any mistakes. Charlotte was groaning inwardly. Are the women from the Grey family out of their minds? Or do they only have one brain in their heads? I'm already like this and can save that part, but they still want to. All right then. In any case, 2 of you will stay behind. Giovanna, you and Stella will stay behind and do that kind of thing with him. My sister and I will go get our sacred object, Rosa said. Then let's hurry up and ask where the sacred object is hidden. We can't do a single thing if we stand here and discuss, Giovanna said. Stella climbed onto the bed and lay in the crook of Charlotte's left arm. Giovanna also climbed onto the bed and lay in Charlotte's right arm. Finally, it was Rosa and Teresa. They also climbed onto the bed. One knelt beside Charlotte's legs, while the other knelt beside Charlotte's head. For a moment, Charlotte was surrounded by beauties. The breasts of the Grey family's women, the legs of the Russo family's women. In his eyes they were all seductive. These 4 fellows probably only received theoretical training, right? Charlotte secretly said in his heart. His right hand, which was pressed down by Giovanna, quietly reached for the clothes that had been taken off and thrown on the quilt. But just as he was about to touch the clothes, Giovanna, who was lying in the crook of his arm, suddenly grabbed his stealthy hand and pressed it against her softness. She then said in a sweet voice beside his ear, "Darling, where did you put that silver medal?" "I put it in my room." Charlotte's voice was very muffled, but it was still barely audible. "Where did you put it in your room?" Stella asked from the other side. Although she didn't grab Charlotte's other hand, she had her own hand. Her hand drew circles on Charlotte's abdominal muscles, one circle after another. It was like a car driving on an overpass, turning around and looking for the intersection to go to. Charlotte's nerves tensed up. He could control his brain, but his brain couldn't control his body. His body had already reacted, and it was a clear-cut reaction. But even so, he still had to bite the bullet and continue pretending. "There's a safe in my room, Silver. The silver medal is in the safe." "What's the password to the safe?" Rosa asked excitedly. 383874. Charlotte said the password. "Let's go." Rosa jumped off the bed. Teresa's movements were also very agile. She got off the bed and tidied up her wrinkled dress while saying, "Giovanna, Stella, I'll leave this place to you. Buy us some more time." Rosa added, "It's best if you can spy on some useful information for us. You can do it. Be careful. May the Lord bless you." The Grey sisters' voices were heard. Just as the four women were talking, Charlotte had already put his hand into his pocket and used his thumb to open the cork of a bottle of perfume. After doing this, he quietly retracted his hand. The Russo sisters quickly left the room. "What's that smell?" Giovanna sniffed. "Yeah, it smells so good. I've never smelled such good perfume before," Stella said. Her gaze quickly shifted to Charlotte's clothes. Then, she grabbed Charlotte's clothes and found an open glass bottle in his pocket. There was still some perfume left at the bottom of the glass bottle. After Stella took the glass bottle out, the smell of perfume in the room became even stronger. The agave scent of the Requiem candle was simply not enough and was suppressed in the blink of an eye. "This guy actually carries a bottle of perfume with him." Giovanna frowned. "The head knight said that he's a very lecherous man. It seems that it's true. He definitely carries perfume with him to pick up girls. The head knight also said that he's the most powerful sniper in the world. He's killed at least 100 people, but look at him. He's very clean and gentle. How does he look like a killer?" Giovanna looked at Charlotte strangely. "Yeah, I also don't think he looks like a killer. I think he's more like a gigolo. Yeah, the kind that makes money in a nightclub." "Ah? When did you go to a nightclub?" "I've never been there, but I know that kind of place. This world is already dirty. It needs to be purified. Let's talk about this in the future. What should we do now? Where should we start?" "That's it." Giovanna lay in Charlotte's arms. Stella was stunned for a moment. Then, she lay in Charlotte's arms and looked at Giovanna through Charlotte's chest. "That's it? What else do you think?" Giovanna looked at Stella. Stella thought for a moment. She put both her hands on Charlotte's chest and clenched her left fist. Then, she stuck the index finger of her right hand into the gap of her left fist. Giovanna said, "Huh?" Stella lifted her right index finger and stuck it into the gap of her fist. She stuck it in and lifted it up again like a moving piston. She said, "I thought you wanted this. Don't we do this with him?" "Ha ha ha." Giovanna understood and laughed hysterically. Charlotte saw the conversation between the Grey sisters and Stella's hilarious and vulgar action. The thousands of words in his heart could only be condensed into one sentence. Damn it, retarded. The Grey women did not, after all, do the finger and fist thing with him. They just lay in his arms and chattered. The Russo sisters thought that they got a bargain, but in fact they chose the hardest job. "Sister, do you want to see that?" Stella asked. "Disgusting. May the Lord forgive your sins." Giovanna said, "Just a little." The Lord will forgive our sins. We just need to pray. Then, a little? Charlotte wanted to curse in his heart. If a mistake or a crime could be forgiven just by praying, then what was the point of the law in this world? Just as his heart was in a mess, he suddenly felt his elastic band being grabbed by two soft hands, and then he was lifted up, and then there was nothing left. Is that ding-ding? So disgusting. So ugly. At this moment, Charlotte even wanted to die. Fortunately, Mary's desire finally took effect. The Grey sisters' reactions became slower and slower, and their words became more and more unreliable. It gave people a feeling that they were delirious. Finally, they closed their mouths and stared at the ceiling with dull eyes. It was time to switch from defense to offense. Charlotte pushed them out of his arms and got up. He pinched Giovanna's cheeks and then pinched Stella's cheek. Both women's reactions were the same. They were slow, dull, and confused. Where is your home? Charlotte asked the first question. Rome, Malta Palace. Giovanna's voice. Rome, Malta Palace. Stella's voice. The Grey sisters' answers were the same, but they answered at different times. Giovanna? Whom? Stella? Whom? Charlotte then asked a few more irrelevant questions, such as who was the older sister and who was the younger sister, who was in the family, what they liked to eat, and so on. These seemingly boring questions were actually necessary. They could make the Grey sisters form a habitual thinking. After forming this habitual thinking, they would answer whatever questions he asked. After a few irrelevant questions, Charlotte cut to the chase. Why did the Knights Hospitaller regard that piece of silver metal as a holy relic? Giovanna replied, This is the Knights Hospitaller's top secret. I don't know, but my grandfather told me a story. He said that on the day the kingdom of Jerusalem was breached, there was a miracle. A horseman of the apocalypse riding a red horse passed through the holy city of Jerusalem in the flames of war. No one knew who he was fighting against, and mortals couldn't see it. The horseman of the apocalypse riding the red horse lost his silver armor. Since then, war has engulfed Jerusalem for thousands of years. If the silver armor is returned, the horseman of the apocalypse riding the red horse will rebuild the holy kingdom in Jerusalem. Stella's answer was more or less the same. Information related to the horseman of the apocalypse appeared in Charlotte's mind. In the Bible, there were 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The white horse represented the plague. He carried a bow and arrow, symbolizing conquest. The red horse represented carnage, carrying a sword, symbolizing war. The black horse represented famine. He carried a scale, symbolizing famine and plague. The green horse represented death. He carried the underworld, symbolizing death. Giovanna and Stella had both mentioned the massacre on the red horse, and the story brought back endless associations for him. A horseman of the apocalypse riding a red horse? This was a mythical story in the Bible. That era was a crazy religious era, so the credibility of such a story was extremely low. But every story would have a prototype. Could there really be a knight riding a red horse and wearing silver armor passing through the holy city of Jerusalem on the day the holy city was breached by Saladin? What kind of enemy did the silver-armored knight chase after, but in the end, he failed and lost his armor? Thinking of this, Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. The experiment he did in the underground laboratory suddenly appeared in his mind. That piece of silver metal was part of the armor. The Knights Hospitaller must have some information about it. Chapter 776. For the Knights Hospitaller, the greatest pain was losing their territory. In the Middle Ages, when God ruled everything, it wasn't surprising that they believed that there was a horseman of the apocalypse who could help them rebuild their kingdom. But in the modern era, perhaps even the Knights Hospitaller themselves didn't believe that there was a horseman of the apocalypse who rode a red horse in this world. Putting aside the myth that a horseman of the apocalypse who rode a red horse could help the Knights Hospitaller rebuild their kingdom by returning the silver armor, Why did the Knights Hospitaller still crazily want the silver medal? There must be a reason behind it. After thinking for a moment, Charlotte moved his head closer to Stella's ear and whispered, "Does the Knights Hospitaller keep the silver armor?" "I don't know," Stella answered. Charlotte then moved closer to Giovanna's ear and whispered, "Do you know where the silver armor is?" "I don't know," Giovanna answered. Charlotte wasn't surprised by the Grey sisters' answers. Giovanna and Stella were given to him by the Knights Hospitaller. To the Knights Hospitaller, they were goods and property. Their rank was far from enough to know such a secret. "Who is the real leader of the Knights Hospitaller?" Charlotte asked Giovanna's ear. "Angilio," Giovanna answered. "Why?" All the knights listened to his command. "He is the Lord's fist," Giovanna said. Charlotte moved closer to Stella's ear again and asked, "Who is the real leader of the Knights Hospitaller?" "Angilio," Teresa said. "Why?" "He controls the armed forces of the Knights Hospitaller." Although the Grey sisters' answers were different, the meaning was the same. "How many knights are there in the Knights Hospitaller?" "I don't know. Other than knights, there are untitled crusaders." "Are you a knight or an untitled crusader?" "I am a knight," Stella said. Charlotte did not ask Giovanna the same question. He wanted to dig out the secrets of the Knights Hospitaller from the Grey sisters, but the Grey sisters' ranks were too low, so they did not know much. He then asked a few more questions, but the results were minimal. Charlotte gave up. He opened the windows and the exhaust fan to change the air in the room. He plugged the cork back into the perfume bottle. Finally, he used tap water to rinse off the part of his suit that was wet from Mary's desire and wrung out the excess water. When he returned to the bed, he heard footsteps outside the door. He hurriedly returned to the bed and lay down between Giovanna and Stella. He looked out the door and the door disappeared from his left eye. He saw Arthur, who was quietly approaching. Arthur's gaze was fixed on the door, and then he pressed his ear against it. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly flipped Giovanna over with her but facing the sky. He raised his hand and slapped down. With a crisp smack, a delicate and soft ripple spread. Giovanna made a muffled sound that was full of seduction. Charlotte's slaps fell one after another, and the smacking sound echoed in the room. He was like a drum, and the drum kept making the sound it was supposed to make. When he slapped Giovanna's butt, he kept observing Arthur outside the door. The noise in the room made Arthur frown, but his lips curled into a smile. He did not like the smacking sound in the room, but it showed that his plan was going smoothly. "The best weapon against men is not a gun, but a woman," Arthur whispered, looking at the door with a trace of contempt and disdain. In the room, Ciale flipped Stella over one by one and then slapped her down. With a crisp smack, the ripple spread. The Russo sisters also appeared in Charlotte's field of vision. Their footsteps were hurried, and their eyes shone with excitement. "Is it done?" Arthur lowered his voice. "Got it," Rosa said. "Give it to me," Arthur said impatiently. Teresa handed a piece of cloth to Arthur. Arthur opened the cloth, and a piece of silver metal was revealed. He grabbed the piece of metal in his hand, looked at it, and touched it. His eyes shone with excitement. "It's this, that's right, it's this. What do we do now?" Teresa asked. "Let's leave this place." Arthur wrapped the silver metal in his hand, holding it tightly, as if he was afraid that someone would snatch it away. "Then, what about the Grey sisters?" Rosa said. "Don't worry about them. This is the fate that the Lord has arranged for them. They will understand. It is their honor to sacrifice themselves for the Lord." Arthur turned and left. The Russo sisters looked at each other and hesitated for a second. Then, they followed Arthur and left. In the room, Charlotte jumped off the bed and quickly put on his clothes and shoes before leaving the room. Arthur and the Russo sisters didn't even bother with their luggage and headed straight for the door. There were no guards at the door of Peace Lodge. It was very quiet. The three of them walked out of the gate without a hitch and headed towards Whitestag. "We'll have to find a car when we reach the town up ahead," Rosa, you'll be in charge of this, Arthur said. No problem, Rosa said. Teresa looked back in the direction of Peace Lodge, as if she wanted to say something, but she didn't in the end. It wasn't hard to imagine the fate of the Grey sisters. They stole the sacred item, so Charlotte definitely wouldn't let them off. She and Rosa left, but left Giovanna and Stella in the fire pit. Was that really the Lord's will and arrangement? Arthur took out his phone and dialed a number. He made the call as he walked. Sir Angilio, we've got it. The sacred item is in my hands. Please arrange for someone to receive us immediately. We'll need to leave China through a special channel. How could it be that easy? How did you get it? A man's voice came from the other end of the phone. It was deep and hoarse and carried a dignified aura. The Requiem Candle and the Woman. The Grey sisters won't be able to return, but they bought us a chance to steal the sacred item and retreat, Arthur said. Good. I'll arrange for someone to receive you right away. Keep in touch. The other end hung up. At the same time, in a room in Peace Lodge, Charlotte was going through Arthur's luggage while making a call. Did you locate him? Yelena's voice came from the other end. This time, I've located him. He's in Malta. Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief. Well done. The rest is up to Erdemo. The Maltese palace in Rome, Italy was just an office of the Knights Hospitaller, a rented place. Its current base could not be in that place. In order to crack the secret of the silver medal, and even find the protective suit, the first problem they had to solve was to find the real base of the Knights Hospitaller. If Amanda was still alive, with her expertise in the field of hacking, she would definitely be able to track Angilio's location when Arthur made the first call. This task was left to Yelena. Although the equipment was the same, she was still far behind. That was why tonight's drama happened. Arthur's goal was to get the sacred item at the lowest cost. His goal was to find the real base of the Knights Hospitaller and prepare for the next step. In addition, he had another goal. It was more likely that he would learn more about the secrets of the Knights Hospitaller. This was also the reason why he came to Arthur's mind. Everything Arthur brought with him was spread on the bed. A Catholic copy of Nerves, a silver cross, a change of clothes, a room card to a hotel in Rome, a medal of the Knights Hospitaller, and a gold card with a passage in Italian on it. Defending the faith, aiding the suffering. On the back of the gold card was a chip the size of an SD card. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the pass to the real base of the Knights Hospitaller? Although he was not sure, Charlotte still stuffed the gold card into his pocket. Then, he went to the Russo sisters' room. He quickly went through their luggage, but other than clothes, underwear, makeup, and sanitary pads, there was nothing else. He put everything back to its original state and left the room. At the entrance of Whitestag Town, Arthur, Rosa, and Teresa, who were walking quickly, suddenly saw a van parked by the side of the road. Beside the van stood a young man from China. He was playing with his phone. Hello. Rosa quickly walked over. Can you speak English? Yes. The young man smiled. Are you guys renting a car? Yes. Rosa said excitedly. Please take us away from here. Teresa interrupted. We'll pay you double. Get in. The young man put away his phone and got into the driver's seat. Done. Rosa and Teresa looked at each other and smiled. Arthur, however, revealed a doubtful expression. Wasn't this a little too smooth? Would there be a taxi waiting here in the middle of the night? Are you guys leaving or not? The young man urged. Rosa and Teresa looked back at Arthur. Arthur whispered in Italian, Be careful. If there's anything wrong with him, get rid of him. Rosa and Teresa nodded slightly. The three knights from the Knights Hospitaller carefully got into the van. The young man started the car and drove on the road. However, he did not drive in the direction of leaving Thunder Horse Military Factory. Instead, he drove in the direction of Thunder Horse Military Factory. Who are you? Arthur suddenly realized something. Rosa suddenly stood up from her seat and reached out to grab the young man's neck. The young man suddenly turned his head, opened his mouth, and spat out a needle. There was actually a small metal tube hidden in his mouth. Rosa, who had reached out to grab the young man, was struck by a needle on her neck before she could react. She did not expect the young man to have such a hidden weapon hidden in his mouth. Pooh! Pooh! In an instant 2 more needles shot out from the young man's mouth at an extremely fast speed. One of the 2 needles was stuck in Teresa's neck, while the other was stuck in Arthur's forehead. "You are... Sia!" Before he could finish his sentence, Arthur's vision turned black, and he fell down onto his seat. Before him, the Russo family's sisters had long fallen unconscious. The van soon arrived at the entrance of Peace Residence. The door was wide open, and Charlotte stood behind the door with a smile on his face. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, and he was the one who raised the birds. Chapter 777. The light of dawn dispelled the darkness, and the annoying magpie appeared on the branches again, chirping. Giovanna and Stella woke up at the same time. When the sisters opened their eyes, the first thing they saw was not Charlotte, but Arthur, as well as the Russo sisters, Rosa and Teresa. Arthur and the Russo sisters were lying on the sofa, not waking up. "What's going on?" Stella slapped her forehead, trying to recall what had happened, but her head was dizzy, and she could not remember anything. "Weren't we sleeping with Charlotte?" Giovanna's eyes were also filled with confusion. Where was Charlotte? This was probably the question that the Grey sisters wanted to know the most. Stella got off the bed and walked to the sofa. She shook Rosa's shoulder. "Rosa, Rosa, wake up, wake up." She did not know if it was the effect of the shaking or her calling, but Rosa slowly opened her eyes. Seeing Stella's face close to her, she was stunned for a moment, and then suddenly grabbed Stella's hand. "Oh no! We've been tricked!" At this moment, Arthur and Teresa woke up as well. Arthur's first reaction was to reach into his pocket for something. That thing was still there. He took out the cloth bag and opened it. The piece of silver metal naturally entered his line of sight. The 5 Knights Hospitaller were all stunned. They had been caught, so why was the holy artifact still in their hands? The door suddenly opened and Charlotte walked in. In his hand was a plate covered with a red silk cloth, but it was unknown what was under the cloth. The 5 Knights Hospitaller looked at Charlotte warily. "Good morning." With a smile on his face, Charlotte greeted them in a friendly manner, and then said, "Did you have a party here last night?" No one left him. Giovanna's gaze quickly swept over the bedside table and the coffee table, as if looking for something like a fruit knife or a pair of scissors. However, there was nothing. Charlotte placed the plate on the coffee table and sat across from Arthur. Stella quietly moved behind Charlotte. Charlotte said indifferently, "Miss Stella, I advise you not to move. I'm still being polite to you because we're not enemies. But if you grab my neck and try to strangle me, then we are enemies." Stella immediately stopped in her track. Arthur put the cloth bag into his pocket. He did not understand why Charlotte would leave the relic on him, but he subconsciously wanted to hide it. Charlotte smiled. "Mr. Arthur, there's no need to hide anymore. I saw it all." However, Arthur still put the cloth bag into his pocket. "What do you want?" "Continue the negotiations. I'm still waiting for the results of the Knights Hospitallers' meeting before we continue the negotiations," Charlotte said. Arthur's face was gloomy, and he did not say a word. Charlotte smiled. "Don't tell me you think that you don't need to talk to me anymore since you've got the relic." At this point, he suddenly grabbed the red silk cloth covering the plate and lifted it. The 5 people from the Knights Hospitaller were dumbfounded. There were 4 pieces of silver metal on the plate under the red silk cloth, exactly the same as the one on Arthur's body. "Didn't you come here for this? Why did you have to drug me and then steal it? I'll give each of you one." Charlotte grabbed a piece and threw it to Giovanna. Giovanna reached out and caught it. The remaining 3 pieces also flew to Rosa, Christina, and Teresa. Each woman received a piece of the relic. Was this a great gift of relic? The four women each held a piece of silver metal and looked at each other, not knowing what to do. You tricked us! Arthur could not bear it any more. He stood up with a fierce expression. Charlotte said indifferently, Tricked you? So what if I tricked you? You should be grateful that I didn't drag you to the back of the mountain and bury you alive. Arthur took out the silver medal from his pocket and said angrily, You knew that my people would steal it, but you actually put a fake one in. Ha ha ha. Charlotte could not help but laugh. What kind of logic is that? I knew that you would send people to steal it, so why would I put the real one in the safe? I can be very shameless sometimes, but I found that compared to you, I'm still a long way off. Arthur fiercely smashed the silver medal in his hand on the ground. He called Angilio and said that he had gotten the relic, but now it seemed that it was a prank. He did not know how to explain it to Angilio, but he knew that he would become a joke within the Knights Hospitaller. Mr. Arthur, don't forget that I make arms. My factory has the best equipment in the world. I can make as many of these relic as you want. But if you want the real one, then you have to agree to my conditions. Charlotte said. Arthur was silent for a moment. I want to take a look at the real one, then I will contact Mr. Angilio and explain the situation to him. Charlotte reached into his pocket and took out a piece of silver metal. He put it on the plate. Arthur then came up and reached out to grab the silver medal. He grabbed it, but could not pick it up. At that moment, Charlotte's hand fell and grabbed his wrist. The Grey and Russo sisters suddenly rushed towards Charlotte. Stop! Arthur shouted coldly. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Not for anything else, but because Charlotte's hand that grabbed his wrist was like an iron pincer. That power was almost about to crush his bones. The Grey and Russo sisters stopped in their tracks. Clink! The silver medal fell on the plate again. Charlotte let go of Arthur's hand, grabbed the silver medal in his hand, and said casually, This is my territory. The FA organization and the CIA dare not come here to attack me. I don't know where your courage and confidence come from. Putting that aside, even if you want to rob me, you should send at least 100 or 200 masters. Just the 5 of you, my men can take care of you. Arthur's eyes were fixed on the silver medal in Charlotte's hand, and his eyes were full of excitement. It is your relic. I can copy its shape, but I can't copy its material. I think you should be very clear about this, right? Charlotte put the silver medal back into his pocket. Arthur came back to his senses. Yes, it is real. What basis do you use to judge it? Charlotte said, Have you seen such a medal? Arthur said, Mr. Xia, thank you for your mercy, but please don't try to trick me. I'll call Mr. Angilio right now and tell him what happened here. Go ahead, said Charlotte. Arthur didn't make the call in the room. Instead, he left the room and went outside to make the call. Charlotte turned back and was about to activate the X-ray ability of his left eye, but Giovanna blocked his way. What he saw was Giovanna's waist that was as small as A4 paper and her chest that was as straight as a cannonball. His left eye couldn't help but twitch a little. A beautiful white scenery and a small piece of golden scenery immediately entered his vision. It was so close that he was stimulated. Charlotte frowned. What are you doing? What happened last night? What do you mean, what's going on? Xiale got up and took a step to the side. Stella suddenly moved sideways again, blocking his line of sight. Last night, we and you. Stella gathered her courage. Did we have that kind of relationship? Without any surprise, she entered Charlotte's line of sight. The cloth on her body instantly melted like frost under the sun. They had the same soft A4 paper waist and the same straight cannonball breast. What was even more amazing was that the Grey sisters not only looked the same, but also had the same figure. If such twin sisters slept in the same bed, would they call each other by the wrong name? Charlotte couldn't help but think of such an absurd idea. This is very important to me. Please tell us, said Giovanna with a pleading tone. Charlotte had a headache. No, nothing happened between us. If you don't believe me, you can check it yourself. Giovanna and Stella looked at each other, and both of them heaved a sigh of relief. Charlotte also looked at the door. At this time, Arthur had already ended the call and walked in. He said directly, "Mr. Xia, I'm sorry, but we can't meet your conditions." "Well, that's a pity." Charlotte shrugged. "Then you can go. We won't negotiate any more." "Wait," Arthur said. "What Mr. Angelo means is that we can't do it alone. We need you to provide us with resources." "Is it money?" Arthur nodded. "Yes, we need money to hire mercenaries and armed forces. In this way we can meet your conditions." Charlotte said, "Pay people to do things. I have money. I can hire killers, mercenaries, and even armed forces to do things for me at any time. Why should I give you holy relics?" Arthur smiled. "Haha, Mr. Xia, do you think I don't know what you're thinking? You're a legitimate businessman. If you pay killers, mercenaries, and even illegal armed forces, it will bring you trouble. You don't want to get into trouble, and you don't want to get in touch with those people. Besides, those people are not good people. Even if you pay them, they may not work for you, let alone deal with the FA organization. They won't be stupid enough to do something that can make money, but they won't be alive to spend it, right? But we're different. We've existed in this world for 1,000 years, and we have our own ways to deal with those people. I think that's why you asked us to do this, right?" This was indeed Charlotte's real thoughts. If there was an organization in this world that could kill the FA organization by accepting money, he would have contacted them instead of the Knights Hospitaller. "How much do you want?" $100 million. Charlotte smiled. "Do you think I'm a money-printing machine?" $50 million USD, not a cent more. "Deal." Arthur said, "However, we need a batch of weapons made by Rema Group, XL 2500 sniper rifles, Gale assault rifles, and Hellhound artillery." Xia Lei furrowed his brows. Arthur then said, "Don't get me wrong. We're not taking the opportunity to ask for your supplies, but once the war starts, we must kill the FA organization. We don't want to leave any trouble behind. Your weapons are the most advanced weapons in the world. If our people can be equipped with your weapons, our chances of winning will be greater." "Okay, I promise you." After a pause, Charlotte added, "But how do I know that you won't take my money and not work for me?" "Don't worry, we promise you with the honor of the Knights Hospitaller. In addition, I will also keep 4 hostages." Arthur pointed to the women of the Grey family and the Russo family. "They will stay here as hostages until we finish the deal." Charlotte. Chapter 778. After Xia Lei transferred $50 million to the Knights Hospital's account, Arthur was ready to leave. There was no written receipt for this remittance, but Charlotte was not worried at all that the Knights Hospitaller would cheat him of the money. For one, they valued glory more than anything else. For another, the silver medal, which was regarded as a sacred object by the Knights Hospitaller, was still in his hands, so he was not worried at all that the Knights Hospitaller would not carry out the agreement. $50 million was a huge sum of money, but it was just a number to him. He was willing to pay $50 million to redeem Amanda and Pu Taiyong, so he did not mind using it to buy killers, mercenaries, and militants to fight against the FA organization. It was hard to predict what kind of chemical reaction would occur with $50 million, the fanatical believers of the Knights Hospitaller, and the weapons and equipment of the Rema Group. But it was conceivable that the FA organization would face the biggest survival crisis since its establishment. The flame of revenge had begun to burn. "Mr. Xia, the 4 of them will stay here with you. I hope you can treat them well," Arthur said to Charlotte at the door of the Peace residence. Charlotte said, "If you are worried, you can take them back." "No, no, no." Arthur waved his hand. "I said I would keep them as hostages, so I have to keep my promise. Mr. Xia, you won't let me become a man who breaks his promise, will you?" Xia Lei shrugged his shoulders. Since Arthur had said everything, he had nothing else to say. But he knew very well that Arthur kept the Grey sisters and the Rousseau sisters, not so much as hostages, but to keep them as informants and spies. But he did not care, because in his opinion, the 4 women were not very capable, except for their good looks. "Can I have a word with them?" Arthur was very amiable. Charlotte smiled. "They are your people, why do you need to ask for my permission? If you want, you can talk to them all day." "I don't need a whole day, I only need a few minutes." Arthur walked to the corner on the side of the door. The Grey sisters and the Rousseaus moved with them to the corner. Charlotte thought that Arthur and the 4 women were just going to talk in the corner, but he didn't expect Arthur to make a turn and walk behind the corner. The 4 women also went around the corner to avoid his line of sight. Charlotte couldn't help but smile. His left eye twitched slightly, and the 5 people who were standing in a corner and having a secret conversation entered his sight. That was when the lip-reading spell was activated. "Mr. Arthur, why do you want us to stay?" "We can do nothing here," said Rosa. "Yes, let us go back with you. We are going to fight against the FA organization. We are not afraid of death," Giovanna said. Stella and Teresa said the same thing. The 4 women did not understand why Arthur asked them to stay, and they obviously did not want to. "Enough, all of you stop talking. I've made my decision, and I won't change it." Arthur's expression was serious. "Now, listen to me. This is very important." The 4 women immediately quieted down. "I didn't ask you to stay here to play. I have a task for you." Arthur lowered his voice. "You need to collect all the information about Charlotte, and report to me if anything happens. In addition, you need to get close to him and spy on the Holy Relic. Also, you need to find out how much he knows about the secret of the Holy Relic. It's very important for us." "Mr. Arthur, he's so cunning. How can we do that?" Stella looked very worried. She remembered what happened last night. The 4 of them and Arthur had been fooled by Charlotte, and now Arthur asked them to play a spy game with Charlotte. It was scary just thinking about it. "This is an order. You must carry it out and you must complete it," Arthur said coldly. "Have you forgotten the training? Do you need me to teach you how to deal with a man? You have natural advantages, and he has natural weaknesses. Use your brains, and you will succeed." The 4 women looked at each other, and no one dared to say anything. However, they understood what Arthur meant. Their bodies were the best weapons against men. Arthur wanted them to use their peachy cannons to bomb Charlotte and then capture Charlotte. "Okay, that's it. You know how to contact him, but you must be careful. You can't let Charlotte know," Arthur said. The 4 women nodded in unison and said in unison, "Protect Faith, help suffering." Charlotte looked away. He wasn't surprised that Arthur gave the 4 women such a task, but he felt a headache. He also secretly thought to himself, "He asked them to spy on how much I know about the secret of the Holy Relic. If I know too much, will the Knights Hospitaller turn around and kill me after obtaining the Holy Relic?" It was really possible, because only a dead man's mouth was the most stable. Arthur and the 4 women walked out from the corner. Arthur had a smile on his face, as if nothing had happened. He said, "Mr. Xia, I'm leaving. Please keep in touch. I'll pass on the relevant information to you at any time. Also, I'd like to ask when we can get our weapons." Charlotte said, "I'll have my client in South America prepare them for you. You can take the weapons you need from my client, and I'll make it up to him." "Well, that's for the best. Goodbye then." Arthur walked to a taxi waiting on the side of the road. Xiaolei was the one who called that car for him. He didn't want his men to send Arthur off, and he didn't want anyone to find out that he was in contact with the Knights Hospital. "Mr. Xia," Giovanna said in a very gentle voice, "can you walk around with us? We want to familiarize ourselves with the environment." "I don't have time. Go find the ant who sweeps the floor. She'll meet your requirements." After saying this, Charlotte turned around and walked toward the Thunder Horse Army factory. The Grey sisters and the Russo sisters looked at each other, and then looked at the back of Charlotte together. The day after Arthur left, Ryu Youngnam and Qin Kaiwei came back. Even the scavenger IFV that was sent to France for the exhibition came back together. Charlotte personally went to pick them up, but before he left the airport, he was surrounded by reporters from all walks of life. Mr. Xia, is the scavenger IFV a new type of vehicle developed by Rema Group? Mr. Xia, the Western media praised the superior performance of the scavenger IFV, but some media said that the scavenger IFV stole the vehicle technology from Rainmetal. Is this true? Mr. Xia, can this kind of vehicle be mass-produced? Mr. Xia, will our army be equipped with the scavenger IFV? Mr. Xia, why was the scavenger IFV exhibited abroad first, instead of domestically? Is it an export weapon? A large group of reporters, a lot of questions. Charlotte raised his hand and waited for the scene to quiet down a little before he said, I have nothing to say for the time being. Please come to the Thunder Horse Military Factory tomorrow. I will hold a press conference on the scavenger IFV. At that time, I will not only meet your questions, but you will also have the opportunity to see our scavenger IFV live practice. Mr. Xia, Mr. Xia. Charlotte no longer answered any questions. He squeezed through the reporters blocking the way and left with Ryu Youngnam and Xia Shui, who came to pick up the plane together. Brother, are you really going to hold a press conference? Xia Shui asked aloud after getting into the car driven by Yelena. Of course, why not? We have good stuff. Isn't it stupid to hide it? If the media likes to hype it up, then let them do it. This is equivalent to giving us free advertising. Charlotte said. Xia Shui giggled and said, Brother, let me do the planning work. Okay, no problem. Charlotte agreed immediately. His sister's working ability was getting stronger and stronger. It was time to let her take charge of some work alone. Let me help you, Ryu Youngnam said. Xia Shui smiled sweetly. I know you love me the most. Charlotte frowned. Am I actually behind Masahiro? You are tied for first place, Xia Shui said. There was laughter in the car. Returning to the Thunder Horse Military Factory, Charlotte sent invitations to some people. Xia Shui and Ryu Youngnam began to plan tomorrow's press conference. Early the next morning, various media outlets arrived at the Thunder Horse Military Factory ahead of time. Large and small news interview vehicles, the signature female anchors of major TV stations also appeared on the scene, ready to interview Charlotte. Some guests also arrived ahead of time. Sherboran, Tang Tianlong, and some military figures. They were all invited by Charlotte. People who were not invited by Charlotte also came. Mu Jianfeng, Yi Kuan, Yu Shanhe, and Ling Hao. Charlotte did not invite them, but they could still participate in this press conference in the official name. The press conference was held at the shooting range of the Thunder Horse Military Factory. Xia Shui and Ryu Youngnam set up the podium and the auditorium. A passage leading to the podium was also covered with a red carpet. It was done well. When the time came, Charlotte stepped on the red carpet and calmly walked to the podium. He did not invite any leaders to give a speech. As soon as he came on stage, he introduced the information related to the scavenger infantry fighting vehicle and future production plans. Various reporters rushed to ask questions, and he also responded easily without the slightest sign of stage fright. Standing on the podium, he did not look like an entrepreneur, but more like a politician. His aura was very strong. Why doesn't he die? Mu Jianfeng looked at Charlotte, who was standing on the podium and speaking with confidence. His face was gloomy and terrible. I also find it strange. So many people want him to die, but not only is he not dead, but he is also living more and more comfortably. Yi Kuan also looked depressed. We have to stop supplying him with parts for the production of light weapons. We must do this. Mu Jianfeng's tone was very determined. Yi Kuan frowned. That kid has something on us. If we stop supplying parts to Rema Group. Mu Jianfeng interrupted Yi Kuan's words. Instead of being bitten to death by him, it is better to die standing. Teacher, just say it. Whose idea is this? Yi Kuan said. He never believed that Mu Jianfeng was a person who would die standing. At this time, Ling Hao came over. Does it matter whose idea it is? I think that your two companies will be eliminated by Rema Group in a few years. This is the important thing. Yi Kuan seemed to understand something. He nodded, but did not say it. Ling Hao said faintly, I think what old Mu said is right. Instead of being bitten to death by him, it is better to take a gamble. Take a gamble. Maybe it is him who dies, not you guys. Do you think I'm right? Then please give us a hand, Mr. Ling, Mu Jianfeng said with a smile. Ling Hao smiled. His gaze moved to the direction of Yushanha. Yushanha did not come over. He looked at Charlotte with his brows furrowed. No one knew what he was thinking. Chapter 779. Boom. With an explosion, the fixed target 3,000 meters away was blown to pieces by the fixed Hellhound cannon. It was a target made of cement and stone. It was very strong, but it couldn't withstand a shot from the scavenger IFV. More importantly, the active Type 99 main battle tank only had a range of 3,500 meters. After destroying the target, the scavenger IFV moved quickly. It was very fast, and it didn't feel like a cumbersome IFV, but a large off-road vehicle. Whoosh! A target flew toward the scavenger IFV. Its flying speed was comparable to the American Javelin anti-tank missile. However, when it was 50 meters away from the scavenger IFV, the scavenger IFV's defense system suddenly reacted and quickly fired an interference shell. Boom! There was another explosion, and the target was shot down. It was already very good for an IFV's defense system to reach this level. In fact, even the most advanced tank defense system in Europe and the United States might not be able to reach this level. The series of maneuvers left the audience dumbfounded and their blood boiling. In the shooting range, the cheers never stopped. The eyes of several military representatives lit up, and they weren't stingy with their words of praise. After the maneuver, they followed Sherborne to Charlotte, and they weren't stingy with their words of praise. Xia Lei was very polite when socializing with them. Kid, are you building a tank or an IFV? Sherborne's voice was very loud, and he patted Charlotte's shoulder heavily as he spoke. Charlotte was used to this way of greeting, and he said with a smile, Isn't it obvious at a glance? It's an IFV, not a tank. However, if it's a tank on the battlefield, our IFV operators won't be afraid. What's there to be afraid of? Just shoot it and it will explode, a military representative said with a smile. There was a hearty laughter. Not far away, Yushanha and Ling Hao didn't say a word, and they looked at Charlotte and several military representatives with gloomy faces. Old you, why are you standing so far away? Come over and have a chat, a military representative said. Yushanha walked over. Ling Hao hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he did not go over. Old you, you've seen the Rema Group's scavenger IFV. I won't talk about how good it is. I only have one question. When will our army be equipped with this IFV? As soon as Yushanha went over, the military representative, who asked him to go over for a chat, asked him directly. Yushanha said with a fake smile, Shenzhou Industrial Group hasn't completed our order yet. Let's wait for Shenzhou Industrial Group to complete their order first. Changing a large piece of equipment like a tank isn't like changing a pistol or something. You'll have to go through several hearings before you can do it. Now that you mention it, how long will that take? I'm not sure about that, Yushanha said. I don't care. I don't want any other vehicles. I want the Rema Group's scavenger IFV, another military representative said. He frowned, a hint of anger in his eyes. He was obviously dissatisfied with Yu Shanha's excuse. In any case, the other military representatives were about the same. Most of the soldiers were very straightforward. They drank when they were happy and cursed when they were unhappy. Whether they were happy or not could be seen on their faces. Yu Shanha said lightly, "This is not a small matter. Even if I place an order with Rema Group now, it only represents my own opinion. It doesn't count. In addition, Rema Group's mass-produced scavenger IFV may not be as good as this one. We need to go through very strict testing when we purchase a large piece of equipment. Therefore, even if we want to purchase the scavenger IFV, we need to pass a series of tests before we can submit a feasibility report. Finally, we still need to go through a hearing." Sherboran also frowned. He was also unhappy. Yu Shanha's eyes moved to Charlotte. "Mr. Xia, are you confident that your IFV can pass the strict comprehensive test?" Charlotte said lightly, "Chief Yu, our company has a very complete and strict test system for our products. If the scavenger IFV can pass our company's internal test, it can pass the test of any country in the world. I'm not worried about the strict test you're talking about." Yu Shanha's mouth revealed an inscrutable smile. "You can say that, but whether it's true or not is another matter." Charlotte smiled. "I say the scavenger IFV is good, but you say it's not necessarily good. You have the freedom to express your opinion. You even have the freedom to place an order or not place an order. But I want to tell you that I don't expect you to place an order with my company at all." When the scavenger IFV was still on display at the Villepinte International Exhibition Center in Paris, many countries were competing to place orders. I couldn't refuse them. If you don't place an order, I can satisfy the international market. Moreover, my profits will be higher. The elusive smile on the corner of Yu Shanha's mouth disappeared. Charlotte added, "The scavenger IFV is 15 years ahead of similar products in Europe and the United States. Will I worry about not being able to sell it?" "Humph." Yu Shanha snorted, "Do you think you're selling rice and garlic? If you want to sell it, you have to be able to sell it." Charlotte laughed. "If you don't buy it, can you stop me from selling it to others? Chief Yu, I advise you not to go too far, or you won't be able to turn back when the time comes. If you have the ability to stop me from selling an IFV that's 15 years ahead of similar products in Europe and the United States, I'll shut down my military factory. Haven't you always wanted me to withdraw from the domestic military market? Why don't we make a bet? If you stop me from selling it, I'll shut down my military factory. If I sell it, you resign. How about that?" As soon as this sentence came out, Sherboran and several military representatives were stunned. They were all surprised by Charlotte's courage because the owner of a private enterprise actually dared to ask someone like Yu Shanha to resign. "How dare you?" Yu Shanha was furious. Charlotte didn't panic. He still maintained a faint smile on his face, not taking Yu Shanha's reaction to heart at all. All right. Sherboran came to smooth things over. "No matter who you are, no matter what your profession is, we are all contributing to this country. There's no need to be so unhappy. All of Rema Group's weapons are very good, and the sweeper IFV that just came out is 15 years ahead of similar products in Europe and the United States. This is a good thing, and everyone should be happy." Yu Shanha's face was gloomy. He didn't dare to gamble because he knew very well that even he couldn't stop the army from equipping the sweeper IFV, and he couldn't stop Charlotte from selling the sweeper IFV to the international market. Taxes on weapons were very high, and Rema Group could earn a lot of foreign exchange by selling weapons and equipment. They could also represent China in the international arms market to attack cities and increase the country's influence. Who would dare to stop such a good thing that would benefit the country and the people? Whoever stopped them would be finished. What worried him the most was the relationship between Charlotte and Fanfan. Charlotte helped Fanfan sit in the position of the director of the ZN Bureau. Now the two were in the same boat. With Fanfan's current status and strength, if she wanted to report him, it would be as easy as calling for takeout. If there was no truth, it would be fine. But if he really did that kind of thing and was reported by Fanfan, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. But just when Sherborne smoothed things over, and everyone thought that this matter was over, Charlotte said, "Chief Yu, do you want to make this bet with me?" At this moment, Sherborne, who had just shut his mouth, almost couldn't help but kick Charlotte's butt. He had finally calmed Yushanha down, but this kid wanted to slap the tiger's butt. Charlotte really wanted to slap the tiger's butt on purpose. He wanted to send a signal to Yushanha, that was, "I'm not afraid of you at all." Yushanha was so angry that he laughed. "Charlotte, do you think I would make such a bet with you? Don't be too self-righteous. You are young and successful, but there will be times when extreme joy turns to sorrow." After saying this, Yushanha turned around and left. Charlotte said, "Chief Yu, there will be a banquet later. Let's eat before you leave." Yushanha didn't even look back. Sherborne slapped Charlotte on the shoulder and said angrily, "You brat, are you deliberately poking a hornet's nest?" Charlotte smiled. "This country is progressing, and so is our nation. Some people can't stop it even if they want to. I want to make Rema Group bigger and stronger. I want to challenge the military giants in Europe and the United States. I have to overcome such obstacles. I'm not doing this to fight with anyone or against anyone. I just want to remind them not to be an obstacle to the progress of the country and people, and not to be an obstacle to the development of Rema Group." Well said. Some people should reflect on themselves, or they will always think of themselves as local tyrant. A military representative said. "Someone has to stand up for such a thing. Mr. Xia, you're right. I support you." A military representative said. Someone had to stand up and say no, and someone had to stand up and fight. Charlotte was that person. On the other side, Ling Hao said, "Old Mu, Chairman Yi, did you see that? Charlotte is treating Chief Yu like that now. You can imagine what will happen to you when he really develops. Do what you have to do. What can a private company do to you too?" He didn't mention anything about a handle, but the hint he gave was very clear. Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan were both smart people. How could they not understand such an obvious hint? The two looked at each other, but they didn't say anything immediately. "I'm leaving too. If you need anything, just call me." Ling Hao also left. After Ling Hao and Yushanha walked away, Yi Kuan said, "Teacher, are we really going to do this? Do we have a choice?" Yi Kuan shook his head with a wry smile. "Since there is no way back, and we have decided to do it, let's find a good time." Mu Jianfeng said, "Isn't there a banquet later? That's a good time." "Well, who will?" Mu Jianfeng frowned. "You don't want me to talk to him, do you?" Yi Kuan secretly cursed Old Fox in his heart, but he kept a smile on his face. "How can I let the teacher talk about such a thing? Don't worry, I'll bring it up to Charlotte myself." Chapter 780. The banquet was held in the former hotel in Jingdu. There were dozens of tables. Not only were there VIPs who were invited to attend the press conference, but there were also some employees of Rema Group. The success of the scavenger IFV wasn't just his success, nor was it just Anina and Sylvia's contribution. All the employees of the Lima Group had contributed, and they all contributed. Treating them to a meal is one and also very necessary. Of course, not all employees could attend this banquet. Now there were thousands of employees at the Rema military factory in Jingdu. They couldn't all come to the hotel for the banquet. Haizhu Base and Shu Base were thousands of kilometers apart. It was obviously unrealistic for them to attend this banquet. However, he also considered it. He called Guan Lingshan and Zhou Xiaohong and asked them to entertain the employees at their respective bases and give them bonuses. Today was a festival for all Rema people. Charlotte accompanied Sherborne and several military representatives to the former hotel. Xia Shui, who was standing at the door, greeted them quickly and greeted them sweetly. "Hello, Uncle Sher, hello, uncles." Sherborne smiled. "Not bad, Charlotte. If only you were as obedient as your sister." Several military representatives were also amused by this sentence. If Charlotte was as obedient as Xia Shui, then the sun would probably rise from the west. "Do you want to say something to me?" Charlotte said. No one knew his sister better than him. Xia Shui nodded. She wanted to say something, but it was inconvenient. "Old Sher, let's go in first," a military representative said. "Okay, let's go in first. Charlotte, you have a few drinks with us later," Sherborne said. "Definitely," Charlotte said. Sherborne and several military representatives entered the hotel. Xia Shui said, "Brother, I'm sorry." Charlotte was stunned. "Why are you apologizing to me?" Xia Shui looked sad. "Masahiro and I were responsible for the press conference. I couldn't leave, so I let Qin Kaiwe book the hotel." "Haven't we already booked a hotel?" Charlotte looked up at the grand and beautiful hotel building and said, "This hotel is not bad. It looks very high-end." "You don't know?" "Know what?" Xia Shui reached out and patted on Charlotte's shoulder. "Brother, this hotel is sister-in-law's, no, former sister-in-law's hotel." "Charlotte," Xia Shui said, "brother, don't blame me. Your secretary booked the hotel." Charlotte certainly wouldn't blame Xia Shui, and he wouldn't blame Qin Kaiwe, because no one would ask who the owner of the hotel was when they booked the hotel. The Wanxiang Group's businesses were spread across various industries. It was a freak accident that his celebration banquet was held in Shintu Tianin's hotel. Other than blaming his luck, who else could he blame? "There is one more thing," Xia Shui said. "Dad has come back from Sichuan. He is coming here." Charlotte nodded. "Okay, got it. Brother, don't worry." Former sister-in-law may not know that we are holding a banquet here. The Wanxiang Group is so big. Will she pay attention to a hotel under the Wanxiang Group? I don't think so, Xia Shui said. As soon as her voice fell, a silver Rolls-Royce Phantom stopped at the door of the hotel. Xia Shui suddenly slapped her little mouth. The door of the silver Rolls-Royce Phantom opened, and Fu Mingmei walked out of the driver's seat. She first glared at Charlotte, then walked to the back door and opened the door. A pair of black high-heeled shoes came out of the door, and then a pair of slender legs covered with a pair of black stockings. Shintu Tianin carefully pressed her skirt and walked out of the car. A white dress, a black top hat, and a black LV handbag. It was simple, low-key, and luxurious. She was still the same, beautiful and sexy, but cold as an iceberg. Her aura was still so strong, like a queen. 4 pairs of eyes looked at each other. Memories of her were like snowflakes in winter, sprinkling in Charlotte's mind. Some were sweet, some were sad. Charlotte braced himself and greeted her with a smile. "Tianin, how are you recently?" A simple greeting, but it was filled with concern and warmth. Shintu Tianin looked at Charlotte affectionately. After more than 10 seconds she said, "I'm fine. How about you?" "And I'm fine. It's just that I'm too busy," Charlotte said. Xia Shui came over. "Sister-in-law. Sister Tianin, hello. Little Shui." Shintu Tianin took Xia Shui's hand and said affectionately, "You are getting more and more beautiful. When will you and Masahiro's wedding banquet?" Xia Shui's cheeks suddenly turned red, and her expression was a little shy. It's still too early. I haven't played enough. I don't want to get married so early. Masahiro is not bad. You have to cherish him. Don't be as stupid as me. I don't know how to cherish him," Shintu Tianin said. Charlotte was next to her, but her words seemed to be for him to hear. Xia Shui was secondary. Charlotte was a little embarrassed. He changed the topic. "Tianin, you came at the right time. I invited some leaders and employees to dinner. Why don't you join us?" Shintu Tianin smiled. It's really a coincidence. I came here to inspect the work. I didn't expect you to treat me here. Since this is the case, then I will freeload you for a meal. At this time, another car stopped at the entrance of the hotel. The door opened. Xia Changhe and Tang Yuyan got out of the car. Tang Yuyan was dressed in a navy blue Chong Sam embroidered with a golden phoenix. Her curves were alluring. Her hairstyle was also matched with the Chong Sam. It had a strong style of swallowtail hairstyle, which added a bit of classical beauty with the Chong Sam. Usually, Tang Yuyan dressed very casually. It was mostly a casual style, giving people a feeling of youth and liveliness. But now, she seemed to have changed into a different person. She gave people a feeling of maturity, steadiness, sexiness, and elegance. Only those women from prestigious families would have such temperament forever. And she was the Missy of the Tang sect. She was from a prestigious family. When Tang Yuyan got out of the car, she first looked at Charlotte, and then her eyes moved to Shintu Tianyin. Shintu Tianyin also looked at Tang Yuyan, and then his eyes moved to Xia Changhe. Her lips moved as if she wanted to call out Dad, but she didn't. Xia Changhe only came back after she and Charlotte divorced. She didn't even have the chance to call him Dad. Although the two of them met in peace residence, they didn't have a formal conversation. Xia Changhe was like a stranger to her. However, when Tang Yuyan and Xia Changhe appeared together, she smelled something unusual. This made her frown slightly. Miss Tianyin, what a coincidence. We haven't seen each other for a long time. I didn't expect to meet you here. Tang Yuyan greeted politely. Yes, what a coincidence. Shintu Tianyin looked at Xia Changhe. Hello, Uncle Xia. Hello. Xia Changhe didn't say anything unnecessary. The scene was very awkward. Charlotte had a headache. Lazy. Shintu Tianyin said, I'm going to do something first. I'll look for you later. Okay, see you later. Charlotte said. Fu Mingmei passed by, but she paused at Charlotte's side. She didn't come to check on the work. She heard that you were treating here. She didn't even have an important meeting and came directly. She hasn't been happy at all recently. You should have a good talk. Talk about what? Xia Lei's heart was filled with sadness. Should he talk about the past or the future? The past is the past. In the future, does he and Shintu Tianyin still have a future? Fu Mingmei followed Shintu Tianyin into the hotel. Dad, Miss Tang. Xia Shui also greeted Xia Changhe and Tang Yuyan, but she didn't wait for Xia Changhe and Tang Yuyan to speak. She said, Brother, I'll leave this place to you. I'll go in and ask Sister Tianyin for a discount. This is her hotel. She should at least give me a 50% discount, right? Charlotte was about to stop her, but she had already run into the hotel. This child. Xia Changhe sighed. She has always been a little estranged from me, but I don't blame her. This is my fault. When Xia Shui needed her father the most, he left. He left for several years without any news. In Xia Shui's heart, Charlotte, who tore up the university notice for her and worked at the construction site to earn money for her to study, was her father in her heart. Uncle Xia, give her a little more time. She will understand you. Tang Yuyan said. And take your time. There's no hurry. Xia Changhe's tone had a hint of melancholy. Charlotte said, Dad, don't think too much. Let's go in. The banquet is about to start. Xia Changhe nodded. Tang Yuyan gave Charlotte a supercilious look. What's wrong with chatting? I'm not an outsider. Isn't that right, Uncle Xia? Yes. Xia Changhe smiled in a blink of an eye. Charlotte was stunned. What's going on? Tang Yuyan winked at Xia Changhe. Xia Changhe then said, Lazy, I want to talk to you about something when we go back. Charlotte asked, What's the matter? Let's talk about it when we go back. Anyway, it's a good thing, not a bad thing. Xia Changhe said. Uncle Xia, what do you want to talk to Lazy about? Why didn't you tell me? You also treat me as an outsider. Tang Yuyan said coquettishly. No. Xia Changhe suddenly closed his mouth and didn't say anything more. Tang Yuyan didn't ask any more. The corners of Xia Lei's mouth couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. In this mysterious situation, he didn't think that Tang Yuyan was an outsider. Instead, he thought that Xia Changhe and Tang Yuyan treated him as an outsider. The three of them came to the hotel restaurant. Charlotte saw Fu Mingmei at a glance. The latter waved at him at the entrance of a corridor. Charlotte didn't go there immediately. Instead, he helped Xia Changhe and Tang Yuyan settle down before he walked over. Tianyin said she won't come. Fu Mingmei said. Why didn't you come out of nowhere? Xia Lei said. She said that Tang Yuyan is here and she doesn't want to eat with her. Charlotte guessed the same reason. He said, then I won't force her. Let's make an appointment another day. No, she's waiting for you here. After you're done here, go see her. Fu Mingmei handed a room card to Charlotte's hand. This. Charlotte held the room card and didn't know how to answer. Fu Mingmei frowned. You men are so cruel. You forget the old when you have a new lover. Anyway, you are husband and wife. Can't you meet and have a good talk? Well, I'll see her as soon as I'm done here. Xia Lei put away the room card. Also, I've never been a heartless person. It's you women who are more heartless. Fu Mingmei's lips moved a little, but she didn't say what she wanted to say. She knew very well how Shintu Tianyin and Charlotte got divorced. Charlotte asked Shintu Tianyin to give up the Wanxiang group and build Rema group with him. But she chose her career in the end and gave up her love and family. Not only that, but she also let Charlotte take the blame for her. From this matter, it could be seen that Shintu Tianyin's heart was much more cruel than Charlotte's. What right did she have to say that Charlotte was a cruel man? If it was a really cruel man, he probably wouldn't even want to talk, let alone have a good talk. Well, I'll go first. Charlotte turned and left. Remember to come. Fu Mingmei urged. Charlotte nodded but didn't look back. What should he talk about when he met Shintu Tianyin? He really didn't know. Chapter 781. As the banquet continued, Charlotte accompanied Sherboran and a few military representatives for a few drinks. A waiter walked over and whispered into Charlotte's ear, Mr. Xia, a gentleman asked me to bring you a message. He wants to talk to you. Did he say who he was? Charlotte asked. He said his surname is Yi. The hotel waiter pointed in a direction for Charlotte. He's at that table. Charlotte looked in the direction he was pointing and saw Yi Kuan at a glance. He was curious why Yi Kuan was looking for him, but his expression did not change as he said, I got it. The hotel waiter did not leave. He said, Mr. Yi said he has something important to talk to you about. If you don't go, you'll regret it. Charlotte frowned. This hotel waiter was pestering him. Obviously, he had received a tip from Yi Kuan. But just as he was about to say something to get the waiter to leave, he saw Yi Kuan leave the table and walk towards the entrance of the restaurant. He thought to himself, Yi Kuan asked someone to come and talk to me about something, but he left. What is he playing at? Enjoy your meal, I'll go take a look. Charlotte left the table and walked towards the other exit of the restaurant. Walking out of the restaurant, Charlotte saw Yi Kuan walk into the stairwell. What the hell is this guy doing? Charlotte followed. After entering the stairwell, he climbed up one floor and saw Yi Kuan. Yi Kuan was waiting for him at the corner of the stairwell. Chairman Xia. Yi Kuan greeted him with a smile. I thought you wouldn't come. I didn't expect you to come. Charlotte said, You, Chairman Yi, asked me to talk to you. How could I not give you face? Chairman Xia, you are now a world-famous person. You are also a big shot in the eyes of the higher-up. What am I in your eyes? Don't be so polite with me. If you have something to say, just say it. I'm really not used to talking in this kind of place. If someone saw us, they would think that I'm discussing something bad with you. Charlotte said. Hee, Chairman Xia, am I the kind of person who only does bad things in your mind? Chairman Yi, if you're here to talk about whether you're a good person or a bad person, then forgive me for not keeping you company. Charlotte turned around to leave. Wait. Yi Kun smiled bitterly. Someone wants Shenzhou Industry Group and Hanwoo Weapon Company to stop producing and supplying weapon components to Rema Group. Charlotte stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Yi Kun. When did this happen? It's today. Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, You probably didn't ask me to come here just to tell me this news, right? I can't hide anything from you. Yi Kun looked up and down. After making sure there was no one around, he said, Chairman Xia, do you know whose idea this is? Of course I know. Even if you don't say it, I can guess. Charlotte looked straight into Yi Kun's eyes. But I can't guess your thoughts, Chairman Yi. I've had enough. What do you mean? Yi Kun lowered his voice. You have something on me and Mu Jianfeng. Those things can destroy me, but they still want me to do it. Even the matter of opening my mouth is on me. Isn't it obvious that they want to use me as cannon fodder? I don't want to be cannon fodder. This was the reason why Yi Kun asked him to come to this place to talk. Charlotte was very surprised. Chairman Xia, I, Yi Kun, am not a dog on a leash. I'm not an idiot cannon fodder that has to die just because they want me to. As long as you help me, I'll be your friend. Even what? Become your man, Yi Kun said. Charlotte was stunned for a moment. Chairman Yi, I don't know what you're playing, but aren't you afraid that I'll tell Mu Jianfeng or Ling Hao? If I dare to say this, I'm not afraid that you'll say it. Yi Kun said, I know very well what kind of person you are, Charlotte. You will never tell this to Mu Jianfeng or Ling Hao. Why are you so sure? We're not friends. Because you need me. We weren't friends before, but we can be friends now. Do you think I'll believe you? I don't need you to believe me. I just need you to know that you need me. I can bring you tangible benefits. That's enough. Charlotte was silent. He really needed Yi Kun. The Thunder Horse Army factory had expanded twice. The speed of production increase was not slow, but it was still far from enough. It could not satisfy the hungry market at all. If it wasn't for the fact that Divine Land Industry Group and Hanwoo Weapons Company had become Rema Group's parts OEM factory, the Thunder Horse Army factory would not have developed to its current scale. Now that Divine Land Industry Group and Hanwoo Weapons Company wanted to stop supplying parts to the Thunder Horse Army factory, it would inevitably affect the production of the Thunder Horse Army factory. He had signed a large number of orders. If he couldn't deliver the goods according to the contract, there would be a lot of trouble waiting for him. If Yi Kun didn't see this clearly, would he take the risk to talk to him about such a thing? After a short silence, Charlotte said, Just say it, what do you want from me? Give me everything you used to threaten me. Don't leave a word or a picture. What can I get from you? The production capacity of Hanwoo Weapons Company and all the branches of Hanwoo Weapons Company will produce parts for the Thunder Horse Army factory. So, even if Divine Land Industry Group withdraws, it won't affect your production. No matter how I hear it, it's a threat, not a cooperation. Yi Kun smiled bitterly. Chairman Xia, I'm already at the end of my rope. Can you stop joking? Give me those things. After I destroy them, I'll be able to work in peace. After a pause, he added, To work for you. Chairman Yi, I think you're joking. You're the boss of a state-owned enterprise. Would you lower yourself to work for me? Besides, I can't afford to hire a big shot like you. Charlotte said. You're obviously tempted, and you really need an ally like me, but you're still testing me. A trace of anger appeared at the corner of Yi Kun's mouth. Charlotte, to be honest, I really hate you. Charlotte said lightly, I just want to understand the situation. Yi Kun moved closer to Charlotte and lowered his voice. I know your ambition. You want to develop Rema Group into China's Lockheed Martin Corporation. It's undeniable that you have the ability, but you can't do it alone. You need someone like me. I can bring you the best technicians in the country, and more support from the government. Also, if the opportunity is right, I can even apply to merge Hanwoo Weapons Company into Rema Group without changing its private nature. This time, Charlotte was really tempted. He didn't lack technology, but he lacked talent and support from the government. If every batch of workers had to be trained from the most basic, the time consumption alone would be enough to slow down the development of Rema Group. But if he could merge Hanwoo Weapons Company into Rema Group, he would have all the technicians and skilled workers in Hanwoo Weapons Company. By then, Rema Group's development would be as fast as the wind. Most importantly, this kind of merger would not change the private nature of the company. Yu Shanhe, Mu Jianfeng, and the others racked their brains to chase him out of the military industry. They never thought that there would be such a traitor in their camp. He wanted to sell Hanwoo Weapons Company to him. This was a real-life version of infernal affairs. Think about it. If you've made up your mind, come and show your face at the table where Mu Jianfeng and I are sitting. I will refuse to produce parts for you in front of everyone. Pour a glass of wine on me, and we'll consider it a deal. Yi Kun patted Charlotte's shoulder and left. Charlotte watched Yi Kun leave, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He never expected this to happen, but this was the way of survival for people like Yi Kun. When it was time to sell someone out, he would not be soft-hearted. Even Mu Jianfeng, who had brought him into the world, was no exception. Keeping Yi Kun for his own use was a little awkward emotionally, but it was undeniable that Yi Kun was definitely a useful dog. If he used him well, he could bite people, and he could also guard the house. A minute later, Charlotte returned to the restaurant. He walked straight to Yi Kun and Mu Jianfeng's table. Yi Kun looked at him, and an almost undetectable smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Chairman Mu, Chairman Yi, I thought you wouldn't come," Charlotte said with a smile. "Since you're here, you're guests. Let me give you a toast." Charlotte picked up an empty glass and poured himself a glass of wine. Everyone at the table raised their glasses. Only Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kun remained seated. They had no intention of drinking with Charlotte. "Chairman Yi, what's the meaning of this?" Charlotte said unhappily. "Charlotte, I'll be honest with you. I'm here to tell you something." Yi Kun said, "I've decided. From today onwards, Hanwoo Weapons Company will no longer produce parts for Rema Group." Charlotte said coldly, "Yi Kun, you have to think about the consequences of your actions." "I've thought it through. Find someone else to do it for you. I'm not doing it anymore. What can you do to me?" Yi Kun stood up. Charlotte suddenly raised his hand, and the glass of wine in his hand splashed onto Yi Kun's face. Yi Kun waved his hand, wanting to hit Charlotte, but Mu Jianfeng stood up and grabbed his hand. "Ah Kun, don't be rash," Mu Jianfeng said. "Charlotte, you wait." Yi Kun shook off Mu Jianfeng's hand and stormed off. Charlotte said coldly, "Yi Kun, you better think it through." Yi Kun didn't even turn his head. Mu Jianfeng sighed. He looked at Charlotte and shook his head. "Young man, you're too rash. Is it really okay for you to do this? I can't drink anymore. Let's not date anymore." Charlotte thought to himself, "I think you're pretending. Yi Kun is your student, but you old fox definitely don't know that the first person your student will betray is you." Mu Jianfeng also left with a smile on his face. Everyone at the table looked at Xia Lei in dismay. Charlotte suddenly smiled. It's fine. Let's drink." Everyone at the table raised their glasses again. Who didn't want to give face to Charlotte now? Charlotte returned to his seat. "What happened?" Sherboran asked. Charlotte said, "Nothing much. Just a small conflict." "Sigh, I can't care about what happened between you two, and I don't want to care." Sherboran suddenly changed the topic. "Come, accompany me to have a drink with your dad." Charlotte shifted his gaze to the table next to him. Tang Yuyen and Xia Changhe were chatting happily. Tang Yuyen also shifted her gaze over. She winked at Charlotte. Her appearance was extremely charming and charming. That look in her eyes was extremely flirtatious. Charlotte avoided her gaze. Come, accompany me. Sir Boran urged. Charlotte smiled bitterly. All right. He had to face what he had to face. There were some people and things that he couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Chapter 782. Before the banquet was over, Charlotte slipped away. He went to the room marked on the room card and used it to open the door. This room was not the best presidential suite in the hotel, but just an ordinary standard room. There was a double bed, a desk, a TV, and a kettle to boil water. There was also a bathroom, but that was all. Shintu Tianyin stood in front of the window. Her slim back gave people a sense of loneliness. Charlotte closed the door, and Shintu Tianyin turned around. She was wearing the Sacred Heart that Charlotte gave her as a wedding gift, the last princess of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, Sibella. Her neck was slender and delicate, and it was dazzling. She did not wear the Sacred Heart when she came, but now she was wearing it. It brought back some memories of Charlotte. Their eyes met, and there was no sound. Sometimes silence was also a language. In the end, Charlotte shrugged awkwardly. You called me here. Why didn't you say anything? Congratulations, you made another powerful weapon for this country. Shintu Tianyin's voice was very soft. Charlotte smiled. I'm only good at making weapons, unlike you, who is proficient in everything. Shintu Tianyin also smiled. If you say that, I won't agree. When it comes to making money in business, the three of me can't compare to you. Before we divorced, your assets were less than 1/10 of mine, but now your assets have reached 60 billion, more than half of mine. I inherited it and you built it from scratch. Isn't it obvious who is more powerful? I already have so much money. Charlotte was a little surprised. He had not really calculated his current assets. However, he knew why his assets suddenly increased a lot. It was because the country had forgiven him more than 20 billion in loans. Without the deal with the French, his assets would have shrunk by half. Don't you usually pay attention to your assets? Shintu Tianyin was also very surprised. Then why do you make so much money? For Rema Group, I want to make it our country's Lockheed Martin Corporation. After a pause, he added, now I only have this dream left, and I want to realize it. You've changed. Shintu Tianyin walked towards Charlotte. You're different from before. Really? People always change. Charlotte said. Shintu Tianyin walked in front of Xiaolei. She was only one step away, but she did not stop. Her body gently moved closer to Xiaolei's embrace. Her towering chest first hit Charlotte's body, followed by her hand and lower abdomen. She gently hugged his waist. Her cheek was also pressed against his cheek, and she said in his ear, I'm sorry. I've always owed you an apology. Can you forgive me? Her soft body, seductive fragrance, everything about her was so beautiful. However, Charlotte did not have that kind of feeling in his heart. There was only a touch of sadness. He was silent for a moment before he said, I've forgiven you for a long time. Shintu Tianyin looked at Charlotte with a tender look in her eyes. Are you willing to give me a chance? Charlotte was slightly stunned. What do you want? Shintu Tianyin hesitated for a moment, then plucked up her courage and said, Let's get married again. Charlotte's reaction was very big. I've thought about it for a long time. After divorcing you, I haven't been happy a day. Every day when I go home, I want to see you at home. I can't sleep without you in my bed. Let's get married again. I'm serious. You still have me in your heart. I can see it in your eyes. Why do we have to suffer like this? I've thought it through now. I don't actually need a career. What I want is you. Let's get married again. Her eyes were full of hope. Charlotte shook his head gently. Why? Shintu Tianyin's eyes suddenly became misty. Is it because of Tang Yuyan? Charlotte smiled bitterly. No, it's because I don't want to marry any woman again. Shintu Tianyin was stunned. I've experienced 2 failed relationships with Liang Xiao and with you. I don't want to go through it a 3rd time. Do you think I'll hurt you a 3rd time? Her tears were about to flow, and her heart was filled with regret. No, I believe you won't hurt me a 3rd time. Then why? Didn't you just say that I've changed? Let me tell you then. I've indeed changed. I've become bad. Me and my 2 chief engineers, Sylvia and Anina from Germany, I have that kind of relationship with them. Most of the time, the 3 of us will sleep in the same bed. Shintu Tianyin's hand silently dropped from Charlotte's waist, and her tears also flowed out. It's not just Sylvia and Anina. I also slept with Liang Xiao some time ago. When I was in France, I also slept with Colonel Jacqueline Eva of the French General Directorate of State Security, and my Hattori, the chief assistant of the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Ms. Forson. In addition, I also slept with. Don't say any more. Shintu Tianyin suddenly lost control of her emotions, and her tears flowed more quickly. I'm sorry, I've become bad. A hint of bitterness appeared on the corner of Charlotte's mouth. I'm no longer worthy of you. You don't have to carry any psychological burden anymore. I did that for you willingly, and I've never resented you. Although we're divorced, I don't think we can still be good friends. Good friends? You want to be good friends with me? Shintu Tianyin choked with sobs. Are you telling me all this to be good friends with me? I don't want to lie to you, Charlotte said. You can lie to me. Shintu Tianyin roared at Charlotte. Why don't you lie to me? I'm sorry. Charlotte sighed and turned to leave. Shintu Tianyin grabbed the sacred heart on her neck. At that moment, she seemed to want to pull it off and throw it at Charlotte. But when she grabbed it, she stopped. It was a wedding gift from Charlotte. It represented a beautiful memory. How could she be willing to return it to Charlotte? Charlotte left the room. The moment the door closed, he felt as if a heavy stone had been lifted from his heart, and his whole body relaxed. This was the first time he told a woman how bad he was. After taking this step, he felt that he was one step closer to the life he wanted. The world is so big, and I have so many confidants. Why should I get married? I want to live freely, without shackles. When he returned to the hotel restaurant, the banquet had just ended. Where did you go? Tang Yuyen came over. Charlotte smiled. I went to see Shintu Tianyin. The corners of Tang Yuyen's mouth curled up. Why won't she give up? She wants to remarry me. Tang Yuyen suddenly became nervous. What did you say? I said I don't want to get married again. I also told her that I'm dating several women, Charlotte said. These words were also said to Tang Yuyen. Tang Yuyen suddenly laughed. Don't try to scare me with this. I'm not Shintu Tianyin. I don't care. If you have the guts, go to Japan and make a movie. I'll support you. Charlotte was speechless. Tang Yuyen had long known that Charlotte had that kind of relationship with Long Bing and Jiang Rui. Given her status and capabilities, how could she not know about Charlotte's relationship with those 2 German women? Yet, she still came. Her attitude was one of, I don't care how bad you are. A woman who lived in a rain of bullets and a woman who sat in an office plotting strategies would definitely have a different outlook on life. After leaving the hotel, Tang Yuyen and Xia Changhe chatted for a few minutes before leaving in a car. Xia Changhe got into Charlotte's car and Charlotte drove in the direction of Whitestag. Dad, how was your trip to the Tang Manor? Charlotte asked tentatively. Kid, just ask what you want. Why beat around the bush? Xia Changhe said with a smile. All right then. Did you agree to something with the Tang family? You're referring to the matter between you and Tang Yuyen, right? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I agreed, Xia Changhe said. Charlotte panicked. What era are we in now? I decide my own marriage. How can you agree to it on my behalf? Xia Changhe said plainly, I agreed. Can't you just say no? Charlotte was taken aback. What do you mean, Dad? Xia Cheng has said. How can I not understand the Tang family's intentions? I already knew why Tang Yunhai invited me to Sichuan as a guest. It's hard for me to refuse such hospitality, so I went. The Tang family took good care of me while I was in Sichuan. How can I not agree when they treat me like that? You agree just like that? Aren't you a little too easy to deal with? Charlotte was displeased. Xia Changhe smiled. Didn't I just say that I agreed? Can't you just say no? They want you, not an old man like me. I'll agree to whatever they say, but I can't make the decision for you. Between the two of us, one will play the good cop and the other will play the bad cop. That way, the Xia family won't offend the Tang family. Think about it, if I were to refuse, wouldn't I offend Tang Yunhai? Do you think you don't have enough enemies? The older, the wiser. Charlotte gave Xia Changhe a thumbs up. Xia Changhe said, That's just a small matter. Let's talk business. I heard from Yelena that you met with the Knights Hospitaller. Tell me about it. Charlotte briefly described the deal with the Knights Hospitaller, and then said, That's it. Samosha has been chasing you for so many years, and now he has killed 4 of us. We have to fight back. It's not convenient for me to bribe the killers and mercenaries of the Dark World, but it's convenient for the Knights Hospitaller. I'll give them the money and weapons and let them fight. When the Sandpiper and the Clam fight, the fisherman benefits. Xia Changhe smiled. Well done. Dad, you used to be a member of the FA organization. You should know the FA organization very well. Do you think the Knights Hospitaller can kill the FA organization? Although I'm a member of the FA organization, I don't know as much about it as you think. I was trained in the Siberian training base, then carried out missions around the world, and finally returned to China. I don't even know where the headquarters of the FA organization is or who's in charge. The FA organization is very mysterious, which is what worries me. Although you can use the Knights Hospitaller to fight a proxy war, the result of the war is unpredictable. No matter what the result is, I can accept it. My goal is actually the Knights Hospitaller. Xia Changhe looked at Charlotte in surprise. What's going on? Charlotte took out a gold card from his pocket. When they're almost done fighting, I'll go to Malta. This gold card was the pass to copy Arthur. Why are you going to Malta? I suspect that the Knights Hospitaller have a suit of armor, but in my opinion, it's a protective suit. It's the key to cracking the secret of AE and ancient alloy, Charlotte said. Xia Changhe was silent for a moment. I'll arrange new helpers for you as soon as possible. Chapter 783. As night fell, the lights of Jingdu shone like a bright pearl. Cars and people were all lost in this huge jungle of steel. Very few people would calm down and think about what they were working so hard for. And this question, Yi Kuan never thought about it. After leaving the hotel, he and Mu Jianfeng drank tea and had dinner. After they were full, he asked the driver to send him to the entrance of a community. His house was not in this community, but his woman lived here. Go back, pick me up tomorrow morning, Yi Kuan said to his driver after getting out of the car. Okay, Chairman Yi, I will wait for you at the entrance of this community at 7 tomorrow morning, the driver said. Yi Kuan waved his hand and entered the community. Ring ring, ring ring ring. Just as he walked out of the elevator, his phone suddenly rang. Yi Kuan took out his phone and looked at it, then answered the phone. Mr. Ling, call me. Ling Hao's voice came from the phone. I heard from old Mu. He said that Charlotte spilled a glass of wine today, is that right? Yes, that kid is really too much. Yi Kuan said hatefully. I will not let this matter go. Yes, he did go a bit too far. In front of so many people, and in such an occasion. If he doesn't give you face, you don't have to give him face either. He won't get a single spare part. That's the right thing to do. Ling Hao said, Don't worry, even if Charlotte has something that's not good for you, I can guarantee that you will be fine. I called to tell you this, so you don't have to worry about it. Thank you. We are all in the same camp, no need to be so polite. If Charlotte gives you any trouble, just give me a call and I will solve it for you. Okay, goodbye. Yi-kun hung up the phone, then spat on the ground. If I really get into trouble, will you care about me? Do you think I, Yi-kun, am a greenhorn who just entered the official career? If you use me as cannon fodder, I will blow up your broken ship first. He walked to a door and opened it with a key. The lights were on in the house, but it was quiet. His gaze shifted to the coffee table, and he was stunned. There were several stacks of US dollars on the coffee table, as well as watches. There were also some account books and property ownership certificate. He had put those things in the safe, but he didn't expect them to be moved out and placed on the coffee table. Xiao Tao. Yi-kun said angrily, "Come out. Are you stupid or what? Why did you take everything out of the safe?" Since the items were all there, the possibility of the thief being a thief could be ruled out. Since the possibility of the thief being a thief was ruled out, it could only be his woman. Xiao Tao was the nickname of the woman he kept outside. That woman was younger than him by more than 20 years. She was the real next generation. A door opened and a person walked out. However, it was not his woman, but a man who was more beautiful than most women. He recognized this person. He was a senior figure in the Rema group. He was Charlotte's right-hand man, Qin Xiang. Qin Xiang walked towards Yi-kun. "You." Yi-kun was suddenly nervous. "What do you want?" Qin Xiang put a document bag on the coffee table. "Everything you want is inside." Yi-kun was stunned for a moment. He suddenly reached out and grabbed the document bag, as if he was afraid that Qin Xiang would take it away again. Qin Xiang smiled faintly. "Since my boss asked me to give it to you, it's yours. You don't have to be so nervous. My boss is a person who values relationships and loyalty. You won't go wrong following him." That's true. Yi-kun smiled. "But," Qin Xiang's tone suddenly changed. "If you have the idea of having a foot on two boats, or pretend to rely on my boss, then you're done for. If I can take out the things you hid here, I can take away the things you hid elsewhere." Yi-kun's smile froze on his face. A thin layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Xia Lei had given him what he wanted. It was Zen. However, Xia Lei had his subordinates steal the things that he couldn't see the light of day from the safe and put them on the coffee table for him to see. This was another form of coercion. Using both carrot and stick, Charlotte's methods were getting more and more mature. Qin Xiang patted Yi-kun's shoulder, who was in a daze. "My boss asked me to tell you something." "What did he say?" Yi-kun came back to his senses. "He said that you don't have to be afraid of Ling Hao and Yushanha. He has the ability to protect you." "Is he talking about the woman that even Yushanha is afraid of?" Qin Xiang smiled. "You're a smart person. That's it, I have to go." Yi-kun smiled. Qin Xiang's last sentence was equivalent to giving him a reassuring pill. The last worry in his heart was also eliminated. He opened the file bag. He quickly realized that the file bag contained not only his dirty things, but also Mu Jianfeng's. He thought for a moment, then smiled. "Is he asking me to submit a proof of allegiance? All right, I'll send someone to hand these things over. Teacher, don't blame me. You forced me to do this." A minute later, he dialed his woman's number. "I'll tell you later. I'm busy now." A woman's coquettish voice came from the phone. "What are you doing?" Yi-kun asked curiously. "I really? All right, I'll tell you. Today, I met a sissy on the street. He said he was a market researcher for some company. He asked me a few questions, then gave me a voucher from a mall. What the heck, 10,000? It's only for today. I have to spend it all." "Your mother, are you scolding me?" "No, how's your mother?" Do. At the same time, at the entrance of the estate, Qin Xiang dialed Charlotte's number. "It's done," he said. It's been hard on you. Come back, what's with your voice? It's nothing, you've said a few times. Did I? F asterisk CK, you're hopeless. Qin Xiang suddenly understood something. He hung up the phone. His face was red, as if he had been stimulated by something. Lei Ma Jun's office building, in the lounge of the chairman's office. Charlotte placed the phone on the bedside table, then looked down at Fan Fan, who was squatting on the floor. His nostrils couldn't help but let out a hum. There's no problem with what I told you, right? Xia Lei suddenly spoke. There's no problem, Is it you, Shanha? Fan Fan raised her head. Do you have to talk about something else at this time? Charlotte shrugged. Yi Kun is at his wit's end. I'm helping him at this time. I don't expect him to be grateful to me, but if he can help me, it will be very beneficial to the development of Rema Group. Such a big matter, I won't be in the mood if I don't ask about it. Fan Fan rolled her eyes at him, then pursed her lips with her tongue. Don't worry about you, Shanha, and don't worry about Ling Hao. You just have to remember that the Scavenger IFV is a great success. You and your Rema Group are no longer a small company in the eyes of the higher-up. The higher-ups value you and your Rema Group very much. Yi Kun bringing Hanwu Weapons Company to support you is definitely a good thing in the eyes of the higher-ups. You Shanha and Ling Hao are very smart. They won't directly confront you, but use Yi Kun as cannon fodder. Yi Kun isn't a fool, so he chose to rely on you. In such a situation, the moves that you Shanha can make are quite limited. The most he can do is find a way to transfer Yi Kun out of Hanwu Weapons Company. In fact, you only need to solve this problem, then there will be no problems. I will solve the rest for you. Charlotte smiled. That's easy. I will make a public statement that Rema Group and Hanwu Weapons Company have formed a sibling unit and are preparing to develop new equipment. Yi Kun and I are both in charge. In this way, if Yu Shanha wants to transfer Yi Kun, he will also face great pressure. Haha, isn't that fine? Fan Fan smiled. Actually, with the development of Rema Group, there will be more people standing in your camp in the future. Yi Kun is the first, but definitely not the last. Believe me, your future will be smoother and smoother. The opponent headed by Yu Shanha was his last obstacle in the country. Once he was swept away, he would have no opponents in the country. At that time, Rema Group would advance at an even faster pace. Charlotte also hoped that that time would come, because only then could he put all his energy into deciphering the secrets of AE and ancient alloy. Are you all right? I'm fine. Charlotte carried her by the waist and walked to the bedside. The woman in his arms was trembling. She was still so sensitive because of her special constitution. She could develop an antidote for his perverted tadpole, but she could not develop a medicine to treat her sensitive constitution. Perhaps she had never wanted to cure her. Why would she want to cure such an illness? To her, Charlotte was the best medicine in the world. Now, she was undergoing an in-death treatment. Aya! What's wrong? I forgot to use the antidote. Charlotte froze for a moment. He had also forgotten to use the antidote. Perfect, it was fine. I'll use it later. Charlotte secretly said in his heart, I'll use it later too. By the way, have you been working on the X-Secret Gold project recently? Yes, I have already discovered something. Really? What is it? Tell me quickly. Yes. Do you really want to talk about such things at this time? I want all of them. Okay, then I'll tell you. I've discovered a new arrangement of carbon atoms. Give me some time, and I'll be able to develop a new alloy material. I reckon it will lead our country's material science to a new level. Oh my God, as soon as I go to work tomorrow, I will write this good news into a report and submit it. Yes. With a nasal voice, she suddenly became quiet. Her face was full of happiness and a satisfied smile. He did not know whether it was because of this exciting good news or because she had taken some medicine. Charlotte's heart was calm. It was conceivable that if this news was submitted by Fanfan, Fanfan's achievements would be added to the record, because she was still one of the 3 members of the X-Secret Gold Project. This was also what he wanted. The more stable her position was, the better it would be for him and the development of Rema Group. However, the only thing that worried him was that the relationship between him and Fanfan was becoming more and more blurred. Just now, he forgot to use the antidote, which showed that in his subconscious, he did not seem to mind Fanfan giving birth to a child for him. Was this love developed over time? He was a little confused. Chapter 784. 2 days later. Yi Kun is really cunning, Qin Xiang said with a smile. He asked a distant fellow in charge of the branch company to submit a report. This matter can't be traced back to him. Also, he asked workers to process parts for us at night. During the day, they process their own parts, and the quantity is very small. Charlotte smiled. If he wasn't cunning enough, he wouldn't be sitting in his position today. People like him have their own rules, we don't have to care about him, as long as he is on our side. Based on the current situation, he is indeed on our side, but you still have to be careful of people like him. If he can betray Mu Jianfeng, he can betray you. He can betray people as easily as flipping a book. Don't worry, I won't give him that chance. Before he betrays me, I'll betray him first. You remind me of a saying. Charlotte looked at her. What saying? Qin Xiang pursed her lips and smiled. When the righteous is 1 foot high, the devil is 10 feet high. In my eyes, you're the worst guy. Charlotte, don't tell me you really have feelings for Fanfan? Was the yes on the phone the last time she said something to you? Go to hell, is this something you should worry about? Charlotte was embarrassed to death. You're giving love freely now, but you're not getting married, right? I've seen through you. You're so bad, beauty killer. Get lost, I don't want to see you. Oh, I'm a beauty. Don't you know how to appreciate it? Qin Xiang twisted her waist. Look at my small waist, does it look good? Several black lines appeared on Charlotte's forehead. He was already shocked by Qin Xiang, but he couldn't possibly drive her out, right? Fortunately, Qin Kaiwe walked in at this time. Chairman Xia, there are a few people who want to see you. Qin Kaiyue's voice was very gentle. A few people? Who are they? Charlotte was puzzled. Qin Kaiwe stepped aside, revealing 4 identical faces at the door. They were the female knights of the hospital knights, Giovanna and Stella from the Gray family, and Rosa and Teresa from the Russo family. 4 blonde girls, 2 pairs of twins, dressed in black suits with short skirts. They were tall, had long legs, and were curvaceous, just like in a movie about uniforms. Giovanna was also carrying a laptop bag in her hand, looking like an elite in the workplace. But it didn't feel that way. People couldn't help but guess that it wasn't a computer in her computer bag, but a woman's underwear or some kind of toy. You guys go do what you need to do, Charlotte said. Qin Xiang and Qin Kaiwe left the office. Why are you looking for me? After Arthur left, Charlotte left the 4 female knights in the Peace residence. He usually avoided them, but he didn't expect them to find him here. Is it safe here? Giovanna said in Italian. It's safe, Charlotte said. Then, Rosa closed the office door. Giovanna carried the laptop bag to Charlotte's desk, opened it, and placed an Apple MacBook in front of Charlotte. Then, she woke up the screen. The camera on the top of the screen lit up, and the screen also showed a notification of a video connection with the communication software. She tapped on the Enter key, and Arthur's face appeared on the screen. Charlotte also saw his own image in a small window, and Giovanna was standing behind him. Mr. Xia. Arthur spoke, we have received your gift. It's very good. The gift he was talking about was the weapons produced by Rema Group, the XL 2500 sniper rifle, the Gale assault rifle, and the Hellhound cannon. Charlotte was also very generous, enough to equip a reinforced company. This kind of equipment was enough to fight a hard battle with an army of 500 or 600 people. In order to kill the FA organization, he also spent a lot of money. That's good. When will you start? Charlotte said. We started a long time ago, after we reached an agreement, Arthur said. Arthur said, other than expressing my gratitude, I'm contacting you this time to give you some information. Charlotte's heart moved. What information? The woman you want to kill is still in Siberia, which is a training camp of the FA organization. Our people, as well as the people who received our money, have already left for Siberia. There will be a battle, and we will kill the people in the training camp. If you want to catch her alive, I will ask our people to try their best, but if they can't, please understand. Well, no one can say for sure on the battlefield. I can understand, but if you kill her, remember to take a video for me. I want to see it with my own eyes, Charlotte said. No problem, I can definitely do it. Where is the headquarters of the FA organization? Sorry, we haven't found it yet. Our believers are all over the world. Don't worry, as long as the headquarters of the FA organization is on this earth, we can find it. That's good. I'll wait for your good news, Charlotte said. Did Giovanna and the others cause you any trouble? Charlotte smiled. No, they are very good. He suddenly reached out and pulled Teresa, who was standing beside him, into his arms. His other hand also roughly slapped Teresa's perky buttock. There was a crisp sound and a soft ripple spread out. Teresa's face was red, and she was very nervous. The other three women also looked at Charlotte in surprise. They couldn't understand why he did that. Charlotte didn't care about the reactions and feelings of the four women at all. He laughed and said, Mr. Arthur, thank you for giving them to me. I feel like a king when I am with them. Arthur drew a cross on his chest. May the Lord forgive your sins. Amen. It would have been better if he hadn't said that. As soon as he said that, Charlotte simply put his hand into Teresa's skirt. Teresa bit her cherry lips fiercely, and her eyes were almost spewing fire. Not only anger, but also other kinds of fire. The faces of the other three women also turned red. Arthur seemed to be unable to watch it anymore, and the image on the screen disappeared. Charlotte also withdrew his hand from Teresa's skirt and let go of Teresa's waist. Teresa hurriedly escaped from Charlotte's legs, and then slapped Charlotte's face. Charlotte reached out and grabbed Teresa's wrist. Don't think that I am a dirty person. I am helping you. Teresa tried to pull her hand back, but she couldn't pull her wrist out of Charlotte's hand. Let go of her, Rosa said angrily. Charlotte let go of Teresa's hand and said calmly, Don't think that I don't know why Arthur left you here. He left you here because he sacrificed you as chess pieces. I did what he wanted to see in front of him, and you can successfully complete your mission. Isn't that good? The Grey sisters and the Russo sisters were stunned. They hated Charlotte's barbaric and dirty actions just now, but when they calmed down and thought about it, what Charlotte said was the truth. It made sense. All right, I have helped you complete your mission. Don't bother me in the future. Charlotte waved his hand. All of you can leave. Teresa said angrily, Humph. Your soul is filthy. You will. Teresa. Giovanna interrupted Teresa's words. She knew that Teresa wanted to say, You will go to hell, but she couldn't let Teresa anger Charlotte. Let's go. I don't want to stay in the same room with him. Rosa grabbed Teresa's hand. Xiaolei smiled. He put a finger in front of his nostrils and sniffed it gently. Then, he said, Miss Teresa, is there no water in my bathroom? What do you mean? Teresa turned around and glared at Charlotte. Charlotte said, It smells like salted fish. Go to hell. Teresa wanted to pounce on Charlotte and tear him apart, but she was held back by the other three women. Charlotte shrugged. Only you are allowed to scold me. Can't I say something honest? Aren't you women too overbearing? The four women left the office. Teresa, how can you be so impulsive? Our mission is to get close to him. He just gave you a chance. Why did you scold him? Giovanna said somewhat reproachfully. He was so rude and he said such hurtful words. I really couldn't help it. Teresa had her reasons. He was indeed very despicable, but… Rosa sighed. We have to admit that he did us a favor. What happened just now was indeed what Arthur wanted to see. So what? He's an ungentlemanly hooligan, Stella said. The four women chatted as they walked away. In the office, Charlotte retracted his X-ray vision. Just now, he had indeed done that on purpose. He wanted Arthur to think that he had fallen into the trap and let his guard down. At the same time, he didn't want the four female knights to pester him, so he had done it in such a rude and barbaric manner. He was actually somewhat glad that these four female knights were real holy maidens. If they were four women like Fanfan, he would have long since surrendered. Ring ring ring, ring ring ring. His phone suddenly rang. Charlotte took out his phone, glanced at it, and then picked up the call. Hello, Director Yi, it's me. Yi Kuan's voice came from the phone. Director Xia, Mu Jianfeng found out that I was still processing parts for you. He brought people to my office to cause trouble. Ling Hao will be here soon. Come and help me quickly. Don't panic, Charlotte said. Didn't you find someone to submit a report? That thing must have been suppressed by someone. If the report could get rid of Mu Jianfeng, he would have been fired decades ago. Why would I still need to report him? Don't panic. I'll be right there. Charlotte hung up the phone. Qin Kaiwa walked in. Director Xia, are you going out? There's something urgent. Oh right, immediately call those reporters who have some connections with us. Tell them to immediately rush to the Hanwu Weapons Company's headquarters. Tell them there's big news. Charlotte said as he walked. Okay, I'll call them right away. Qin Kaiwa said. Outside the office, Charlotte walked while making a phone call. Tiger, do you have anything that can make people faint without hurting them? Yes, what do you want to do? Erdemo's voice. Bring those things and follow me to the Hanwu Weapons Company's headquarters. Charlotte said. Okay, I'll wait for you in the guard room. Erdemo hung up the phone. Charlotte's mouth revealed a trace of a sneer. Mu Jianfeng, you're courting death. Chapter 785. Crack. A crisp sound, a teacup and the hot tea in it shattered on the ground. Mu Jianfeng, who had smashed the teacup, rushed in front of Yi Kuan and slapped Yi Kuan's face. Crack. There was another crisp sound. Yi Kuan's fat face trembled. He stared at Mu Jianfeng with hatred, his heart burning with anger, but he did not fight back, nor did he talk back. You traitor! Mu Jianfeng pointed at Yi Kuan's nose and scolded. If I didn't promote you back then, would you be where you are today? If it wasn't for me, I'm afraid you'd still be a small staff member in the government, eating and waiting to die. Yi Kuan's lips moved, but only slightly. Indeed, he was trained by Mu Jianfeng. Without Mu Jianfeng, he was nothing, but so what? He still had to sell. We've discussed it. We won't provide spare parts to Charlotte anymore. Why did you still secretly manufacture spare parts for him? How much did you take from him? Tell me. Mu Jianfeng's saliva sprayed on Yi Kuan's face. Yi Kuan wiped his face and finally spoke. I didn't take Charlotte's money, not a single cent. I'm just doing the right thing. The right thing? Yes, the right thing. Yi Kuan's tone was calm. Rema Group has great potential. It will become the leading military enterprise that represents our country's military industry, improving our country's military level, expanding the international market. This is beneficial to the country and the people. We can't be a burden to it. Pooey. A mouthful of saliva was spat on Yi Kuan's face. His saliva was already blooming on Yi Kuan's face, but the silver-haired old man still maintained his posture of stretching his head forward, the veins on his neck bulging. His eyes were like those of the working class from 60 years ago, holding a hammer with hatred towards the corrupt bourgeoisie, with the power to destroy everything. This frozen image was filled with the beauty of violent aesthetic. More than 10 people who came with Mu Jianfeng looked at Yi Kun coldly. There was no pity in their eyes, only contempt and disdain. Traitorous dogs deserved this kind of ending. Yi Kun wiped his face and said after a moment of silence, "Teacher, did you eat chive dumplings this morning? After all these years, your taste hasn't changed. You're getting old. Listen to me, go back and enjoy your life. You're not blocking the footsteps of a person, but a speeding sports car. You'll be run over." Bullshit. Mu Jianfeng waved his hand and slapped him again. This time, Yi Kun grabbed Mu Jianfeng's hand. A few people immediately surrounded him. Someone grabbed Yi Kun's hand, someone kicked Yi Kun, and someone sneakily attacked Yi Kun with a punch. The office was a mess. Yi Kun was not a warrior. With his combat power, he could not even defeat the middle-aged woman selling pancakes on the street. He was subdued within a few seconds. He was pinned by the arms against the desk by 2 men, and his waist was bent back against the edge of the desk, exposing a round, creamy belly. Somehow, the zipper was pulled open, revealing a piece of red fabric. At that moment, he was as pathetic as he could be. There were people from Hanwoo Weapons Company outside who wanted to barge in. Someone shouted, "Get lost! The investigation team is handling the case. Whoever dares to move will be arrested." The people from Hanwoo Weapons Company outside the door fell silent. Yi Kun had committed a crime? Was he going to be arrested? That was their first thought. Since he had committed a crime, who would be stupid enough to join in on the fun? Mu Jianfeng moved in front of Yi Kun and said coldly, "If I can promote you, I can kill you with one slap. If you're smart, you'll stop producing parts for Rema Group immediately. Also, submit an application for a job transfer. I'm doing a good deed for the country and the people. What right do you have to do this to me?" Yi Kun shouted. "Enough. I'm disgusted to hear such words come out of your mouth." Mu Jianfeng used his hand to slap Yi Kun's face, each slap harder than the last. "Don't think I don't know you did it. King found someone to report me. You're such an ungrateful person. Do you think you're doing a good deed for the country and the people? Go eat sh*t. Mu Jianfeng had always presented himself as a refined and elegant man. But now, his refined and elegant demeanor was completely gone. "Let him go." A man's voice came from the door. Mu Jianfeng turned around, a smile on his face. Ling Hao arrived with 2 attendants in suits and leather shoes. Mu Jianfeng's people let go of Yi Kun. Yi Kun pushed himself up from the desk. When he was facing Mu Jianfeng, he was not afraid. But when Ling Hao came, he became nervous. "Yi Kun, how dare you?" Ling Hao said, his eyes cold. I didn't do anything illegal. Why would I have the guts?" Yi Kun glanced at the door, looking very anxious. "You're waiting for someone?" Ling Hao's observation skills were at the level of a special agent. He could tell what Yi Kun was thinking. He probed, "You're waiting for Charlotte, aren't you?" "Why would I be waiting for him?" Yi Kun denied. "I'm not waiting for anyone. What's wrong with you guys today? What do you guys want?" "What do I want?" Ling Hao laughed coldly. "You're suspected of several violations. We want you to cooperate with the investigation. Please come with me. Also, you need to hand over your passport. You'll be restricted during this time." "You guys are framing me." Yi Kun panicked. Ling Hao gave him a look. His 2 men walked to Yi Kun's side and held his arms. One of them even warned Yi Kun, "Behave yourself. You don't want to be handcuffed, do you?" "I want to see my lawyer." Yi Kun roared. "You'll see him, but what's the use?" Ling Hao mocked. "If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too smart." But at this moment, there was a commotion at the door. "Move. What are you guys doing? Who gave you the right to do this? It was a man's voice. Hearing this voice, Yi Kuan's expression relaxed, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This was Charlotte's voice. He was finally here. To Yi Kuan, if he was the Zixia fairy in Journey to the West, then Charlotte would undoubtedly be the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, who donned golden armor and stepped on colorful clouds to save him. Who are you? Scram. Investigation team. The same words had stunned the people from Hanwu Weapons Company, but now it was a completely different result. Before the person who spoke could finish his sentence, a foot kicked him. His body suddenly left the ground, flew 2 meters, and landed heavily on the ground. It was not Charlotte who did it, but Lu Sheng. How dare you hit someone? The people from Mu Jianfeng were furious. Lu Sheng said loudly, I hit someone, so what? I'll pay the medical fees. Among the people standing here, who was in need of money? The people from Mu Jianfeng were stunned and rushed forward. Xia Lei, who was standing at the door, did not make a move at all. He had only brought 2 people, Erdemutu and Lu Sheng. However, it was these 2 people who were facing Mu Jianfeng's group of more than 10 people, as if they had entered a flock of sheep. With just a few punches and kicks, a large number of people were knocked down. They were merciful. If they were really ruthless, it was just a matter of whether they wanted to kill or cripple them. How dare you hit the people from our investigation team? A person whose face was swollen pointed at Lu Sheng's nose angrily. Lu Sheng did not even bother to look at him. He and Erdemus stood at the door, like 2 door gods guarding the door. Charlotte walked in from the door. Charlotte! Ling Hao said coldly, How dare you hit? Charlotte interrupted him. Stop acting, this is not Hengdian. Do you think I don't know that there is no investigation team? These people are just people from Shenzhou Industry Group and the people you brought. You guys are investigating my ass. It's not me who is bold, it's you guys. How dare you pretend to be an investigation team and put on a show to scare Director Yi? Bullsh *T. Mu Jianfeng was so angry that his face turned pale. He pointed at Charlotte and his finger was trembling. Charlotte said lightly, One of you said I am bold, and the other said I am Bullsh *T, but what can you do to me? I am here today because Director Yi is my partner. I want to protect him, and you can't take him away. I want to do this, and I will do it. What can you do to me? Ling Hao and Mu Jianfeng's face turned pale, and their eyes were terrifyingly cold. Charlotte said, What can you do to me, twice in one sentence. For people of their status, it was not just a simple disregard, but a slap in the face. The atmosphere in the office suddenly became tense and depressing. After a few seconds, Ling Hao laughed angrily. Very good, Charlotte, your wings have hardened now. Very good, you said you want to protect Yi Kuan, and I can't do anything to you. Very good, I want to see what gives you the right to say such words. I said it. So what? Do you want to hit me? Come and hit me, Charlotte said. Ling Hao was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. More than 10 people were beaten up by Charlotte's people, but Charlotte was the strongest person, and he did not even make a move. Hit Charlotte? Only in his dreams would he dare to do such a thing. In reality, he only had to think about the more than 90 CIA agents and Marine Corps Special Forces killed by him in Ta Wang, the Indian Mountain Division elite, and the Japanese assassins. Who would have the courage to do that? Ling Hao pointed at Charlotte, then took out his phone and dialed. Charlotte also took out his phone and dialed. After the call was connected, Ling Hao's voice was heard. There's a situation here. Bring your people here immediately, and bring your weapons. Charlotte also said to his phone, Bring your people here immediately, and bring your weapons. Both of them ended the call at the same time. Ling Hao put away his phone and suddenly laughed. You actually let your people bring weapons, ha 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 ha. You're crazy. Yes, I'm crazy. Take me to the mental hospital and force me to treat myself, Charlotte said. Charlotte, if you let your people bring weapons here to cause trouble, you're finished. Mu Jianfeng's voice was fierce. If I'm finished, it's the best for everyone, isn't it? Charlotte said. You. Mu Jianfeng was furious. Just as Charlotte was arguing with Ling Hao and Mu Jianfeng, Yi Kuan actually took a glass of water from the water dispenser, then handed it to Charlotte with both hands, and said politely, Chairman Xia, drink some water. Charlotte smiled. He felt that he was starting to like this guy. Chapter 786. Within a few minutes, Ling Hao's men arrived. Although they were dressed in plain clothes, from their actions and demeanor, it was obvious that they were not ordinary people. They were all professionally trained people. They were armed, and it was not hard to imagine their identities. Ling Hao's men had obviously been lying in ambush nearby, or else they would not have arrived so quickly. Ling Hao's men were here, but Charlotte's men had not arrived yet. Didn't you send someone with a weapon? Where are your men? Ling Hao had a sarcastic smile on his face. Xia Lei shrugged gently. How would I know? Maybe there was a traffic jam on the way? The traffic in capital city is terrible. Ha 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 ha. Mu Jianfeng laughed. Charlotte, I told you that you don't have such a big tail. Why are you acting like one? Go back, you can't interfere even if you want to. What if I insist on interfering? Charlotte said. Mu Jianfeng's gaze shifted to Ling Hao. Ling Hao expressed his stance quickly. If you insist on interfering, then I won't go easy on you. I'll take you along with me. I've eaten everything but prison food. I really want to try the taste of prison food. Take me away. Xia Lei stretched out his hands, looking like he was waiting to be handcuffed. No one went up to handcuff him, but with a look from Ling Hao, two plainclothes armed with guns picked Yi Kuan up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Yi Kuan panicked, struggling with all his might. One of the men hit Yi Kuan's back with the butt of his gun. Yi Kuan screamed and fell to the ground. Take him away, Ling Hao said coldly. Two plainclothes armed with guns then dragged Yi Kuan, who was on the ground, up and prepared to take him away. Yi Kuan looked at Charlotte with pleading eyes. Charlotte said calmly, Don't be afraid, you'll be fine. No one can take you away from here. Ling Hao sneered. Charlotte, do you really think you're some big shot? Let me tell you, I'm going to take you away right now. What can you do to me? Charlotte said, It's true that I can't do anything to you, but you're not someone who can cover the sky with one hand, right? Is there no one in this world who can control you? Just as he finished speaking, a group of reporters suddenly appeared at the door of the office. As soon as the reporters arrived, they took out their cameras and video cameras and started filming without any hesitation. Ling Hao and Mu Jianfeng were stunned. Both of them thought that Charlotte had also called people with guns, agents from 101 Innings or Fanfan's people, but they did not expect it to be a group of reporters. What's there to film? Get out. Give me your camera. Give it to me. What are you doing? What are you doing? How could you snatch my camera? My camera is very expensive. You have to pay me back if you break it. Are you the police or something? You think you can do whatever you want? The office was in chaos. In the midst of the chaos, a middle-aged woman suddenly rushed in and threw herself at Yi Kuan without a care for her own safety. Yi Kuan was a little dumbfounded, because this woman was none other than his wife. He had never asked his wife to come here, but his wife had come, and under such circumstances. What are you doing? You can't take him away. Yi Kuan's woman cried and shouted. What law did he break? You want to arrest him? Let him go, let him go. Ling Hao gave a look, and then two plainclothes officers came forward to hold Yi Kuan's woman. Yi Kuan's woman kicked and screamed, Beat me up! Beat me to death! Shut up! One of the plainclothes officers raised the butt of his gun, but did not smash it down. Shoot me to death! Yi Kuan's woman's mouth was like a machine gun, and she spoke at an astonishing speed. My friends, reporters, I want to reveal to you. Someone wants to harm my husband. My husband is a good man. He only reported Mu Jianfeng, and they want to kill my husband. A large group of reporters surrounded them, and their recording pens, cameras, and video cameras were all aimed at Yi Kuan's woman. What nonsense are you talking about? Mu Jianfeng could not hold it in any longer, and panicked. He rushed in front of Yi Kuan's woman and roared, "Shut up!" Not only did Yi Kuan's woman not shut up, she suddenly spat at Mu Jianfeng. You want me to shut up? Are you afraid that I'll tell the truth? I want to tell. You're corrupt. You're nepotism. In 2008 you. Without waiting for Yi Kuan's woman to finish, Mu Jianfeng suddenly slapped Yi Kuan's woman's face. Slap. A crisp sound rang out. Yi Kuan's woman closed her eyes, and her body slid to the ground like a loach. An old man slapped a lively woman unconscious. This kind of situation would probably only happen to a martial arts expert like Tang Yunhai, but Mu Jianfeng was not that kind of person. The noisy office suddenly became quiet. 3 seconds later, Yi Kuan suddenly howled, "Wifey! Wife! Don't die! Don't leave me alone!" Just as everyone was staring dumbfoundedly at Yi Kuan's woman on the ground, Charlotte looked back at Erdemo. Erdemo nodded slightly at Charlotte. Charlotte's gaze then moved to Yi Kuan's woman's neck, and he quickly saw a specially made flying needle, hidden in the hair under her ear. Sister-in-law. Charlotte pounced on her, and his hands held up Yi Kuan's woman's head, and said with great concern, "Sister-in-law? Sister-in-law, are you okay? Wake up, don't scare people." Yi Kuan's woman did not even have the slightest reaction. Charlotte's hand then pulled out the flying needle hidden in Yi Kuan's woman's neck. "Bitch! Stop putting on an act. There's no use in acting." Mu Jianfeng was still very stubborn, but his heart was already starting to feel weak. This is too cruel. Is this what happens to those who report? Do these people still have eyes for the law? Will we be arrested and sentenced? Committing murder in broad daylight, no matter who it is, they won't be able to escape the punishment of the law, right? Yes, I believe that our country's law is fair. Call the police, call an ambulance. There was a lot of noise, and the office was in a mess again. Enough. Ling Hao shouted, "All of you, quiet down." The office suddenly became quiet, and everyone looked at Ling Hao. Ling Hao walked to Yi Kuan's woman's side, and he reached out to touch her neck, then grabbed a cup of tea from the coffee table and splashed it on her face. A cup of hot tea splashed on her face, but Yi Kuan's woman was still lying on the ground like a dead dog, without any reaction at all. Ling Hao was instantly stunned. He thought that Yi Kuan's woman was pretending to faint, and a cup of hot tea would definitely wake her up screaming, but that did not happen. Click, click, click. The digital flash of the SLR camera kept flashing. Of course, the reporters in the office would not miss the scene of Ling Hao splashing tea on Yi Kuan's woman's face. This is too much. Do they still have any humanity? Who are these people? It was noisy in the office again. Ling Hao looked at Yi Kuan's woman lying on the ground like a dead dog, and he suddenly wanted to step on her face. Charlotte put Yi Kuan's woman on the ground, and he sighed. "Sigh, I'm afraid it's not going well." "Wife dash," Yi Kuan wailed and threw himself on his woman, but there was no tears in his eyes. "Charlotte!" Mu Jianfeng suddenly rushed in front of Charlotte, grabbed his collar, and said angrily, "Hello, this woman colluded to frame me." "Did I frame you? Do I need to frame you?" Charlotte turned to Lu Xing and said, "Lu Xing, show these things to the reporters." Lu Xing then took out a thick stack of materials from a briefcase, and then distributed them to the reporters. These materials were all Mu Jianfeng's illegal materials, and the report that Yi Kuan submitted did not have these black materials. "Don't look. Don't take pictures. Give them to me." Mu Jianfeng's emotions were already out of control. Knocking out the informant in front of a group of reporters, and with those materials, he was scared just thinking about how this matter would develop. Ridiculous! Ling Hao grabbed Yi Kuan's collar and lifted him up. His two underlings then grabbed Yi Kuan, and then walked towards the door. He did not care about these reporters. Xia Lei suddenly blocked the path of the two plainclothes policemen, and he unceremoniously placed one of his hands on the chest of one of them. The plainclothes man was stunned, and suddenly raised his gun, and pressed it against Charlotte's head. Click, click, click. The reporters were taking photos again. With a gun pointed at his head, Xia Lei did not show the slightest bit of fear. Not only was he not afraid, but he even smiled. Today, in front of so many reporters and friends, I'm announcing to everyone that our Lima Group and Hanwoo Arms Company have become sworn brothers. This is also a good start for state-owned enterprises and private enterprises. Whether state-owned enterprises or private enterprises, as long as they can contribute to the development of the country, the nature of the enterprise is not important. In addition, I also want to announce a very important thing, that is, I and Hanwoo Weapons Company's chairman Yi Kuan, together with our research and technology team, are going to develop a new type of weapon. A large group of reporters looked at each other. With a gun pointed at his head, he still had the mood to say this? None of the reporters asked him any questions, because the scene was too strange. Take him away. Ling Hao was angry. A few plainclothes armed with guns suddenly rushed up, two of them grabbed Charlotte's arms, and one of them pointed a gun at Charlotte. If anyone dares to touch him, I will shoot him. Long Bing suddenly walked in from the door, holding a Viper pistol produced by Rema Group. Finally, there was a man with a gun on Charlotte's side. Long Bing, you can't do anything about this. Ling Hao threatened. A few plainclothes then pointed their guns at Long Bing. Long Bing raised the gun, and without any hesitation, she fired a shot. A decorative board fell from the ceiling, shattering on the floor. No one expected that Long Bing would dare to shoot when so many guns were pointed at her. Everyone in the room was stunned, and a few timid reporters subconsciously hugged their heads and squatted on the floor. Long Bing lowered her arm and pointed the gun at Ling Hao's head. Charlotte is our most important person to protect. His importance to this country is not something people like you can imagine, and he is not someone you can capture easily. I will now give you 5 seconds to let him go, and then get out of here. If you don't let him go after 5 seconds, I will shoot you. Ling Hao's face suddenly turned green and his mouth twitched, but he did not say a word. Long Bing's eyes were as cold as a knife. 5, 4, 3, let him go. Ling Hao gave up. There was only one reason for him to give up, and that was because he believed that Long Bing would really shoot, and the people he brought with him might not dare to shoot at Long Bing. Long Bing and Charlotte looked at each other. There was no verbal communication, but their feelings and tacit understanding were fused in this look. With its existence, there was no need for words. And this telepathic look also represented the turning point of this incident, and it had developed in another direction. And this direction was absolutely unacceptable to Ling Hao and Mu Jianfeng. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.